And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today's episode is a continuation of Wipe 14.0. All the cool stuff we are discovering. We'll be talking about some interesting information that's come about, some testing as well. Lots of unknowns. Very fun, exciting time. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's I've been enjoying the Wipe a lot. Me and my buddies been playing. We've been playing a lot.
That's good.
That's
good. What level are you?
I think I'm 26. I just reached 27. There you go.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Wow.
I'm level 26. So we're like right on track. We're like right on top of each other. That's good. I'm like nearly level 27. I need another like 10k XP or something. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good time. Like my experience and playtime has been like rammed into the drop streams, as you might imagine. So like usually, I kind of like gradually do it like bit by bit, but I had like two, 14-hour days or whatever, which was the reason this was postponed in the first place, because the following day I was just like, oh, I can't speak and I can't really record my, like, even an 8-minute video is hard for me to read out. And once I've scripted, I was just like, man, this is really tough. Like I had one of them and I had to like retake every segment like 4 times because like my voice would crack, or like I'd go like it would just completely cut out and I wouldn't be able to say something. It was awful. It was just like, I hate, because I just hate listening to it back and it's sounding crappy. I'm just like, it just is not okay. Like a stream is sort of different because you can kind of just chill and vibe and people are like, oh yeah, okay, your voice is busted, like fine, whatever. But on a YouTube video, like, I don't know, it's just different. It's like the production quality, at least as far as I'm concerned, should be higher because you have infinite time in the world to make the takes. Interestingly, actually, on that topic, this is like a random side note before we start properly, but I paid for 11 labs. I'm still yet to see exactly what the result is, but those were the people doing like the AI voice modeling thing.
Huh.
So where Veritas and Jesse had their like voices superimposed over like Linkin Park.
Yeah.
It's that software. Like, at least I think that's probably the same one. 11 Labs is probably the most well known. But I like tried the free one, which, it's not free, but it's like $5 a month or something. It's like really cheap, and you can get their standard model of whatever. So you can either like type into it, and then you give it some samples of your voice, and then it will like read them out, or in whoever's voice that you'd give samples for. Or you can read something and then give samples, and it'll like turn what the audio was into someone else's voice also in audio. So it's either like text to speech or it's like speech to speech. It's like a sort of voice translation almost. Because my idea was, if I could, because I've got loads of audio recordings of me speaking normal. So if I could do that, and then I either give it the script or I like speak in my terrible like raspy voice, and then it turns it into my normal voice, then that'd be quite good. But the free model is like, I don't know, because they're presumably an American company. Like maybe it works better with like American voices. I don't know. But because for me and my accent in particular, like it's I mean, it's certainly understandable. Like that's fine. But it like twangs into like South African and Australian, depending on exactly what I was saying. Which is just like really, it's definitely like, it sounds mostly like me, but 10% of it is definitely not me.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really weird. So there is a slightly higher tier that you could go to, which they run their like actual AI, like proper model once a month. And you get like a custom voice that's, bespoke basically. And I think that one's like slightly more, it's like $10 a month or something. And I was like, it's probably worth it because like the stuff that I do is like so dependent upon me saying the words.
Yeah.
But it's probably worth having it as a backup, right? In case like something is busted. So if I can speak in like a scratchy voice, then it comes out normal. Because then I get all the intonation. It's not like text to speech, right? The computer's like trying to figure out like how I want to say stuff. I can say stuff how I want to say it, but just in a whatever voice I am capable of using.
Sure.
And then it can turn that into like my normal voice. And if it sounds good, then great. I mean, I'm testing it out. I'm not sure. So like I'm waiting for the next like run to happen before I can get that through and I can like give it a little try. So it's interesting. You give them like an hour and a half's worth of audio.
So is it like a one-time purchase thing, or is it like a subscription?
It's a monthly subscription, yeah. But like after you do the higher tier, then you have to wait for like the big run to happen for them to run the full model and get these like, bespoke speech model for yourself.
Gotcha.
Because then you can, it's like a little drop down thing. So you either do like text or you give it an audio file, and then you pick in the drop down like what model you want to use. So I guess it'll be in there. It'll be like there's a bespoke model of my voice, whatever I'll use it eventually, rather than my strange Commonwealth voice that it decides to give me. It's really weird. So yeah, that's very random. But on the topic of losing voices and stuff, but I'm pretty much back to normal now, so it's okay. It comes with this just the season in general, right? Like 2 kids and winter and everyone's sick, and then speaking for 2 sets of 14 hours like within 1 week, and it couldn't take it, so that was that. So but yeah, no, it's been alright. So like I've obviously been cranking out the vids a lot, but then played a bunch. Not like every day because I did those 2 days, but then I basically didn't play like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and played again yesterday. So it's one of those things where it's like, I've had like much more concentrated time, but then like I needed to spend full days doing other stuff because obviously couldn't do anything while I was like streaming all day.
Did you stream on the final like open drops day?
No, I did on the first
Okay.
one because it was like really early wipe, but then on the last one I just couldn't because it was it Saturday or something? I can't remember. Maybe it was
Something
Saturday.
like that.
Yeah, it was either Saturday or Sunday, but I was like, nah, like everyone has it. Like it's not that it's not like really
Sure.
a thing that I feel like compelled to do. Plus, I'm still resting my voice, and I should probably take some time just to like take a break for a minute before I like burn out. Because I've been like, we're up like relatively early, like some days. But it depends on the day, right? With the 2 little ones, like sometimes we're interrupted in the night at like 4:30 or 5 or whatever. Like most of the time we're up at like 7, but it's still pretty early. And I've been going to bed like 1:32 like every day. So it starts to wear. So I was like, let's just take a break, get an early night, like see the family and chill out and whatnot. So
Yeah, good for you. Self care.
yeah, so it's important, right? Like you just explode otherwise. So now we're kind of back on the normal track. I think I'll probably still be streaming a bit more, but I prioritize the video stuff. So
Yeah. You're still gonna
but yeah, it's good
you're still gonna keep up the pace for the next couple of weeks.
for a bit. Yeah, I think it's because for me the content is like it's like I'm not saying the content is necessarily easy, but the ideas are easy.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Like there's enough big ideas that everyone is interested in.
Totally get that.
The ideas fall into your lap. Like the implementation is the whole other half of it, but like the idea generation side is the most important part, right, of YouTube, really. But in the wipe, it's just like a lot of the stuff is just given to you because you're like
Yeah.
redoing things that people knew before, but now are different. So and everybody kind of wants to know.
Mhm.
It's not like if you make a beginner's guide on a map, like the veterans won't watch it. Like if you make a meta gun build, the beginners won't watch it. Whereas if you make a video about like how armor's different, like everybody watches it because nobody knows how it
Right.
works. Like partly us as well, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm interested too. Um, so yeah, it's that's wild. It's good though. It's good though. I really enjoyed this wipe. I mean, this you can see it in the viewing figures, but I think as we said before, like people universally have enjoyed the wipe so far. I mean, there's obviously problems and stuff, but compared to other wipes, it's overwhelmingly positive from both sides, right? The
Yeah.
Chad guys and the realism guys, and the it's like everybody's just having a good time. Like it's so fresh and so new, and there's like so much cool stuff that lots of people are having a good time. I mean, we're probably like just on the brink of coming out of the honeymoon phase. I would say probably about now.
We probably got at
We'll give it a
least
week or
another
two.
week. I mean,
Yeah, give it a week or two, and we'll see. We'll see how everyone's feeling. But I'm starting to see the cracks. People like grumbling about the armor system and getting left armpit and all of this stuff. So we'll see. But for the time, honestly, it's like the most successful wipe I think probably the BSG's ever done. Honestly, like there's more people playing the game than ever. Right, like the previous wipes people really loved
Yeah.
was. I mean, the game had already had drops and was like popular then, but I think it's probably even more popular now just because it's sort of filtered into the mainstream consciousness and they have drops and it's huge on Twitch and just a thing. But yeah, I mean, I could certainly see it in the viewing figures for sure.
Especially if the streamers are saying how good the wipe is. It's almost like a compounding effect with the drops and whatnot. That
Yeah, I think so, and not even just like Tarkov people. It's like all the boys coming back.
Anyone
to the
who
game,
ever
you know what I mean?
touched Tarkov once, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's coming back. Everyone's loving it. Like I've even seen posts from like what's his name, like Jake Lucky or Lucy or whatever his name is, and he was like reposting Summit, being like he's been on that on the Tarkov grind, and it's like the Summit's Twitter is just like live for Tarkov, live for Tarkov, live for Tarkov, live for Tarkov, just like the whole way up. And you've got like Drewski posting pictures, going like I just I just love guns, and there's just loads of people, right, who are like FPS guys who like play Tarkov, but they're not Tarkov mains. So it's part of their overall portfolio. But like everybody seems to be enjoying it, and I think that has a huge impact on the community. Just having lots of big voices saying it's great changes the narrative, right? It's much harder to be negative in the face of a lot of like there is a lot of sway from the bigger creators for sure about the game feeling good and whatnot. So it's good sentiment right now.
Yeah, I think another good telltale sign is I've seen a lot of people commenting that their friends, have like come back and played because of how good it's. They've heard the good news as well, and they are also enjoying that good news update. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's cool. It's nice to see. It's nice to see because it's a big BSG win.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody was expecting it. I think that's partly the thing. Everyone was just like, LBSG, LDevs. Like that was just like the constant take, right? Which is like, but like I don't think anybody was expecting them to pull out a win like this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame the skepticism, but yeah, I think that largely just comes down to the recoil. It's like the primary way you engage with the game. Like, yeah, it's a survival game, but like often the way you survive is by shooting someone else who's shooting at you, right?
Yeah.
So if that experience feels like much because before it was just so bad, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but yeah, it's just like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, no, it is super good. So, I mean, yeah, what do you want to start with? I mean, we could talk about Recoil if you want, like right away.
Right away, or getting into
other stuff. I don't mind. Like we could do. Well, maybe let's start then. We'll just do like a little quick segment. So there's something I wanted to do last week, but we'll leave that for a minute then. I wanted to like have a look. There was the end of wipe stats. Do you actually have them up? Shall I send you the pic?
Yeah, send me the pic actually. Yeah,
because then you can put it up on the. Yeah, there you go. The link to the pic. It's very long. It's it's a strange format.
Oh yeah, classic.
I think there was another one as well. I think this was the most important one. There were actually more, I believe. Maybe I'll look for that in a second. But either which way, this is like, as Church is probably going to pull up onto the screen. There's like the 30.5 stats, which, as usual, it's like 60% USEC, 40% bear. I think this depends on, it depends on like what region you're in as to what the skew is. Because for me, the skew is normally like 66-34. So I think it depends like where you are. Because I just go and look at my kills. I mean, even this way.
Oh, I see.
I don't have that many kills yet, I don't think, but mine is I think the skew is slowly disappearing as time goes on. I've only killed 52 PMCs, so that's of those. Okay, yeah, so I'm 56% USEC this time. In terms of kills, which is actually quite interesting. That's like the lowest USEC percentage that I've ever had this wipe. I think like people keep expecting there to be like a bear update at some point, like
oh, the BTR is going to work for bear only.
Yeah, or like, there's going to be a faction on Shoreline that's like bear friendly, and then it's just like not there. And everyone's like, oh, bear, come on. Whereas like us USECs are still just enjoying Lighthouse from, whenever. So that's kind of interesting. Kill counts, loot extracted and sold through the wipe. Like it's kind of whatever. What even number is that? Million, billion, trillion. It's like 1 quadrillion or something.
Oh, wow. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's like 1.4 quadrillion of loot, which is pretty insane. Extracted. That's weird. Extracted loot value 1.4 quadrillion. Sold loot value like 50 billion. No, sorry, 50 trillion.
Honestly, that adds up. You know how many screenshots I've seen people stashes or just like hoarding random junk?
Actually, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Scav junk box is full of stuff. So the one that is actually kind of interesting is the top skills reached, because this gives you some insight into the player base. Because obviously we don't get any stats really. Like we have viewer metrics and we have like viewership and number of channels that are live from like Twitch tracker and things. But because it's not like a Steam game or anything like that, there's no like launcher stats or anything. Like we can't really tell how many people actually play. But it is interesting that at least like through a full wipe, 142,000 people get to max metabolism, which is an easy skill to max. But like you have to play the game a certain amount to get to level 51, right?
No.
Even just to max it out. So you've got like at least 150,000 people playing like seriously through a wipe cycle, which is like, I think that's pretty interesting. And you got like 60k and 49k people with max strength and endurance, which is like people who are I don't know. Would you say they're kind of? It's not like turbo sweats, but like you have to play the game quite a lot to
Yeah, I
get to
mean, I
max endurance and strength.
feel like
Like I didn't, for example. So
yeah, 'cause I feel like strength and endurance is like around like 50, level 50, whereas like metabolism is kind of like what, mid 30s maybe.
probably what mine is. I'm actually interested
Yeah, is that-
because at level 26 for me, oh, mine's only 14. I've not been prioritizing it though. But I probably could push it up a lot more if I really tried because it'll happen. It's still
yeah,
like by far
yeah.
my highest skill. But yeah, but like strength is and endurance is hard. You just need to play a lot of raids because of the way that
Yeah.
the skill system works, the diminishing returns, which is problematic. And I just tend to not play like enough raids to make it work. But I mean, it shows pretty healthy player base. Like that was for 13.5, which was the short wipe, which I think actually was not a terrible one.
Hmm.
Honestly, like, I think people quite enjoyed it because of the early access to like ammo and whatever. But even still, like it's pretty healthy player base in general. There was another one. Yeah, that okay. So that is the other one that's interesting. Is if you go down a little bit further, this sort of tells you more about like there's all the guns, but in the Halloween event section, that also tells you something about the player base and the drop off, right? Because probably most people who are playing accept the quest just because you may as well. And the Punisher Harvest was the ammo shortage event, and that was the 50 kills on factory. But only 13,000 people accepted the quest, and with the after party, only 17,000 people accepted that one. So that's kind of shows yeah, you got 150,000 people playing through the wipe, but like right at the end, there's like a bunch of people who are just like not playing anymore. Like only 10% of the sort
I
of
see what you're saying.
the
Yeah.
real players, the people who've like played the game enough to get max metabolism, only 10% of them are actually playing the end event, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, because this is like accounting for the entire length of the wipe, whereas it's like a small little snapshot of a period in the wipe. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And like yeah, the toxin spill thing, which is like 20,000 people accepted that one.
Hmm.
That was the event that I missed. That was the one where like Customs River was poisoned, but I was away, so I didn't really engage with it.
Oh, I didn't. I missed that one. That sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was the one like the river was poisoned, and
Was
then
it, like,
you got
green?
that weird poison effect on you. No, the river wasn't, but you got like a pain
Oh,
effect, and
yeah,
then
I did
you had like the
remember
green on
that.
your screen. Yeah, I did like the very first part where you had to go and do like gas analyzer down by the river.
Hmm.
But like it was, I was like 4 days late to it because I was in Hanover, so and that's why they ended up not speaking about it as well.
Gotcha.
So we just mute Tarkov because we're like random crafts completing in the background. um, yeah, so I don't know. I think that's pretty interesting. Like, and then there's the bunch of gun stuff. We know that the M4 is probably going to get used the most. Like, they do it in a weird way. I wish they'd like group them a bit better because it's like AKS 74U, AK 74M. They're like each one is its own gun, which is
Yeah.
a bit weird. But the was it of the carbines, the SVT in like 12 million raids, as you
Sounds right.
imagine. Yeah,
Checks out.
SVD obviously because of Punisher. But what else? There was like the armor and stuff. It's like I was quite interested to see for armored rigs. I was interested to see the MMAC is like number 2. I was kind of surprised that so many people are still
MMAC.
using it. It's a good like it was decent in 13.5, but
Where's that at?
yeah, it's
Oh, I
under
see
it's
it.
the
Like
second to
Eagle.
last
Yeah, yeah.
category.
That
Yeah,
is
because they
actually
split it into 2.
surprising. What?
So it's like so in the body armors, it's like Kora Kulon and then Paka and then Karund. Because it's like the 2 Tibi armors when you first start playing, which
Yeah.
is like most
Yeah.
people, and then everyone uses the Karund because it's the cheapest class 5. Um, helmets is like Ratnik, SSH, and then LSHC lightweight. But then like in rigs, it's like 6B3TM, which is no surprise. Then MMAC, and then Wartech 110. Quite funny.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's probably at around that time period you could get the rat rig. Rat rig being so popular,
Yeah,
sold out. That's probably the closest thing you could get.
and it's about the same price. I think it was 80K or
Yeah.
something in the last wipe. So yeah, it's just like interesting few little bits of stats. I like looking through them because you can glean some information from them. Like they don't tell you everything you'd like to know, but it's especially about the player base. I think it's kind of cool to see. And when people say L dead game, it's just like well, probably not, especially not now.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
interesting. 6A1 was the 556A1 was the most popular.
and that was very much in part to it being pulled back to Peacekeeper 2.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
and with no quest unlock. So you basically just had to get to level 14 and spend the money with Peacekeeper, no tasks done.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
then you could just buy 5, 6 if they want.
That's
Yeah, it
so
was like
crazy.
it was the wipe for 5, 6. It was crazy. Yeah,
I also
it's good
feel
though.
like the Ratnik being first is kind of a new. I don't know. Was the stats like this last wipe when they did the statistics? Because I mean, historically, the steel helmet, it has another name, but was pretty much the like go-to helmet. But I feel like it's now shifted to the Ratniks because probably influencers like you.
Patch 0.13 statistics. Let's see. Oh, they did it in a slightly different format. So last time. Okay, yeah, no, it was the Ratnik.
Okay.
It was the Ratnik, and then the SSH Steel.
What's the gap? This one's 50 million versus 20 million. Same kind of gap.
Last time it was 36 million versus 28 million.
Interesting.
So it's widened. More people using the Ratnik than ever before.
Yeah.
And then the ULAC in third.
That's weird.
But that's because 13.0 was incredibly long. So
that makes sense.
The stats
kind of skews it
skewed
towards
to the late game.
Yeah.
Because it was 7 months rather than 13.5, which is only 4 months. So the stats are skewed towards the early game because we had 3 extra months of, the end game in 13.0.
Right. And then 13.5 being the lighter updates. There's like some gameplay changes, but as far as like new stuff, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Streets.
I actually didn't think to look at the last set of stats until you said that, because that one's got top skills reached as well, which was 62,000 people with max strength in 13.0.
Oh, okay. So a bit more.
But obviously it was a lot longer.
Yeah.
So more people got to it. And then the end event from the Terror Group Trail had 17,000 people, so about the same. There's only sort of 10 to 20k people actually like still invested in doing the end quests like when it comes around. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. Yeah. That's cool. I like stats.
That you do.
So what should we do now? Should we do TarkovTV?
Yeah, we
run
can
through
breeze
random
through it real
stuff for
quick. I didn't get
We'll
to
just
see
breeze through
it
it fast.
So I'll be interested.
Yeah, so this was TarkovTV like Christmas special. This was not like, it's like proper TarkovTV. It was more just like Nikita drinking in the office with a bunch of dudes like handing out presents, dressing up as Santa, and then chanting BSG with the team to like Russian hard base, which was pretty funny, I will admit. But like he did say some stuff. It was very long actually, and I had it on like 2 times speed while I was doing other stuff as well, just like to try and like glean, and then go back when I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. But like he brought on a lot of like team members and stuff like that, which was cool to see. Giving a lot of credit to the BSG family, which is nice. But there's like literally like half a page of things, just individual lines that I even wrote down, so we could just like quickly breeze through them. So he said like Chronicles of Rizzy coming 2024 for sure. Didn't say exactly when, but he was like, yeah, that's going to come back.
Like a new episode?
Yeah, like a new season, I guess.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, that's right, because they ended on the cliffhanger with him getting into the arena or something. Like he got out of the trunk of the car. Is that how it ended?
No, there was another one after that.
Oh, that's right, because then he met that other guy, and they met
the dude, and then they break out because he gets shot, and then he gets healed by therapist's friend. And then I can't it's been a while since I watched it actually. I can't really remember what happens at the end. Because they meet Gluhar, and then he gets Chipushila back or something, and then they go off to. I think that's about as far as it got.
I think so.
Well, it all got weird because he met Jaeger, and then they just kind of like
right
over it, right? Which is really bizarre. So anyway, they're gonna do a new one of those, which will be fun. I'll have to go and like remind myself of what happened in the previous ones, because it has genuinely been a while since I looked. He also said that they are going to do this like visual overhaul of the game. New graphics, vegetation. The game's going to look beautiful, apparently. I mean, does it? I don't think it feels necessary, really, but like they seem to want to do it. He's talked about it before, but it's interesting. And then I guess with that, eventually they're going to produce 1.0, which they're still focused on, as he said. They said they're close to. Oh, sorry, they're 1.0 is going to like close the game loop, is basically what he said. So you start the game, in a sort of like the the way that they want you to start it properly for the storyline, whatever, and that you can officially escape from Tarkov with a quest, which is part of the storyline quest.
Okay.
He didn't really give much details about it, except for, and I did hear Nolan reporting on this actually, because he said there will be no beta testing on the storyline at all until 1.0, and it'll all be on official release. And Nolan's take, which I agree with, is that they have to test it somehow with somebody. Like maybe they do like an actual NDA, like you will be sued if you release information or something, or like have a really super close group of people who are like trusted or whatever. Because like I just wouldn't want them to release it and it be the usual standard of, things not working, because that will happen.
Yeah.
And it will ruin it. You get like partway through and the quest disappears and then you just can't complete the story or something. And it's like, it's just good. Like, I don't know. It's like they're just opening themselves up to a lot of issues, with that. So
but what are they going to do? They've already
nervous.
sold a bunch of copies. It's not like...
I mean, yeah, but I'm sure they don't want it to suck, right? Like, we know how they are.
I mean, surely they have some form of internal testing if it's just literally got one guy that programs it.
I mean, they do. They brought on the guy from the testing team on the show, actually.
Oh, cool. Did they?
They had like more people in testing than they do in like back end.
Okay.
Which is, they got loads. I think it was like 40 people or something. But the game is just huge.
Yeah. I mean,
and you end up with 100,000 people getting it, and it breaks in all sorts of amazing ways. And I also think that, as what do I even want to refer it to? Like, we're not like better at testing as creators or people who play a lot.
Yeah,
we are just we're doing things in a different way. So because as Nikita said on the podcast, professional testing is its own thing. It's like you're like running bits of code and stuff to try like multiple combinations of whatever, and like it's a industry in its own right. But that's different to veteran players playing. I think that you can have both go hand in hand without it breaking, right? Because like they obviously do all that every wipe and every patch, and there's stuff that is wrong, and that's picked up on by people who have experience, who now know how things should go, or at least like understand sort of the vibe of PSG usually, or like the feel of like what is or what isn't intended. It's like even this wipe, which people love. It's just like airdrops just aren't finding raid for no one, like for some random reason, and it's just like, okay, well, I mean, this stuff slips through all the time. So I think like they're probably trying to find, I imagine, and I'm probably speaking out of my experience zone here, but like they're probably trying to find things that crash the game and break it, as opposed to sort of idiosyncrasies within like the Tarkov universe of like,
right.
Airdrops are not finding raid. This doesn't really make any sense. Like, is it game breaking? Well, no, but it's weird and people notice. Just that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think that they're running a risk not having any testing. I mean, maybe they will do. Maybe it's just going to be like super under the radar, and they'll invite some people in like total secrecy. Like, because ETS is like no knob, for example, but you can't talk about it. Whereas this may just be like actual, under the radar testing. I don't know.
I was just imagining they fly like Nolan, nice guy, out, and he gets there into the airport, and they throw him in a van, put a duffel over his head. He's in like a undisclosed hidden warehouse. He's just on a chair and arms tied. It's like, all right, you're gonna play this game and give us your feedback.
Yeah. Oh man. So anyway, so there's that. They're still working on it. He said about the terminal being the last map left. Nikita said that he basically dreamed of the day when they had one map left to make.
Yeah,
and he was like, we're there. He was like, we're finally there. He was like, I actually never thought we'd really get here. Like, or he didn't imagine it,
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. But he was like, we have one map left that we want to do. Like, obviously there's the other ones which they've kind of like pushed away. But terminal is like the last map before 1.0. And it's going to play more like a single player, is what he said. And it's the final location. So, yeah, maybe it will be more like a Call of Duty mission or something. I don't even know. It sounds like there might not even be any other players in there.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Or something like that.
I wonder
yeah,
what
which
that
is
looks like.
yeah, I don't know. So that's pretty cool. He was taking feedback from chat about Ground Zero.
Mm-hmm.
From people being like, "There's too many players, you know. There's like too many people there," and he was like, "Yeah, it could be balanced. It could be balanced. You know, maybe that's fair." Because that was when he announced, because it's a bit of old news now, but we haven't covered it since our last podcast. But this is when he announced that right now it goes up to level 20, which I always said was a bit of a mistake. But they announced that they were going to do what the sensible thing is and split it into pre-15 and post-15. There's going to be 2 instances of matchmaking. So if you're under level 15, you only matched against under level 15s, and same for over level 15s, so that you can continue to play. Because I think it could be quite a good like late game map.
Yeah,
honestly,
it's
like
not bad.
like a PvP map, but it is outside. Because people tend to play like what Factory Labs, Underground Reserve, like those kind of places for PvP because they're closed. You're not going to get third partied from like a million miles away because that's what happens on other maps, which is why people tend not to. People don't go to Sawmill to fight because you're going to get arse-assed if you're trying to fight like CQB and do the Chad thing. But like Ground Zero is a bit more variable in terms of its ranges and stuff. So I think it could be quite good. So yeah, I was quite sad when we weren't able to play it after level 20.
Right.
But this is a good way to do it. That both the beginner map and the sort of like end game PvP map, sort of, because it's only you're going to get people above level 15 after the update. This is not in yet. They haven't actually implemented it. So we still can't play Ground Zero because we're too high level. But they will change it at some point, which is pretty cool. And then he reconfirmed that Suburbs is DLC. I still don't know what this means.
I mean, I could see it as in like, it's kind of like you buy the EOD edition, except this is like a map, and like with that, you just once you open your account after the purchase, you get the access to the map, and maybe you get quests that just populate in a trader specific to that map or something. I could see it, and it's a little weird perhaps, but I could see it.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's the same for Town. Like no one asked about Town, but people were asking about Suburbs, and he said, "Yeah, it was DLC." Didn't really give much away. Arena Unranked should be coming next year, as soon as possible, and that they did finally send all the invites out for Arena. So thank God that saga's over. Which is pretty interesting. I mean, there's like Arena I've not been paying much attention to since the wipe.
Yeah,
but I played I played one game the other day at the end of my stream because I didn't have enough time. I wanted to do like a longer raid, but I only had 15 minutes, and I was like, by the time I load in, it's going to be. I'd have to like really just like shift W through the whole map, and I'm probably just going to die. So I'll just play some Arena instead, which is good. Like it's nice to be able to hop in there. Like it still takes a bit too long to load into Arena, but I know Veritas just brought out like a big video about changing Arena and like some ideas he's got, which is cool because I know that he's like more Arena focused than he is main EFT focused, which makes sense. And that's kind of what Arena was for, right? It's for the veterans who are like bored of the main gameplay loop, don't want to spend hours grinding. They play other games as well. They want to hop in and play Tarkov style, doing the PvP thing. So we'll see what happens. And they're doing lots of changes to it. And he spoke as well about Arena with the Arena guy on the cast, just saying, we're going to change loads of things. This is the very first iteration. This is basically just get it out there, like have a feel for it, see how it plays. We're going to change the systems, we're going to change the progression, we're going to change this and that and the other. There's like load more maps coming. Then they've got 4 more maps, 3 new game modes. They're redesigning ranked and it's matchmaking, changing like new presets. They're going to do preset balance and all this stuff. So we'll see. I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't really have like a solid idea of what they are going to do. Like I did watch the Veritas video today about changes, and I kind of like I'm not going to talk about it too much, but his like opening take is like this game would probably be more interesting if it was like a Counter-Strike style economy, like inter-round economy type game. But that's so different from what they have. I'm not even going to suggest anything like that.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, I kind of am in that same ballpark of like, you have to overhaul the whole game,
right,
to make it like that, and it's just so different from what they've designed so far. Like maybe they'll do it, who knows? But it seems unlikely given the way that they've begun.
And even then,
I don't really know.
At that point, you're like, you're kind of just making a CS clone, but Tarkov edition, right?
Kind of, yeah.
So I don't know how much.
That's a bit weird. What else? Oh yes, and then in the first quarter they want to link the base game to Arena. So,
oh right, yeah.
How that will work, like no one really knows. You'll be able to move money, I guess, and maybe I'll be able to get level 3 vitality without sitting in a bush with barbed wire. I can't build med station level 3 right now because I have got a vitality of a 1 3/4 at level 26, and I've had med station 3 like buildable for ages.
Yeah, because you've had a good
I
run
can't.
this swipe. Because I already was up like 2. What was I at? I don't remember. I was like not halfway, but I had level 2 already. So it took me about like an hour of grinding, and in hindsight, I did some things earlier in my stuff that was less efficient, but it almost killed me, Giga. Like I in fact I did it, and then I like didn't play for like the next 4 hours because it was just that soul sucking.
It's so bad, yeah. Someone pointed out to me that you can get a point of vitality if you do ambulance.
The problem with that, though,
yes,
because I looked into it, I think I heard that on your stream. I was like, oh, this is going to resolve. The problem with that, though, is that you need to complete the flash drives from Jaeger, 3 flash drives, and typically,
indeed,
what you would want to do that is through the Intel 2, and to get Intel 2, you need Med Station 3, and to get Med Station 3, you need Vitality 3. It kills me.
So it's all like, it's all like self-referencing, right? Yep. So you can't do any of them without doing one of them. I'm still yet to find my second flash drive for Skier. So, there's that. So getting all the way through all of that stuff, finding 5 and handing them all in and then being able to do ambulance is very unlikely. So I think I'm just going to have to grind it again. Someone in chat was saying, how do you always have such low vitality? I always have 3 before I get to therapist. It's very much dependent just upon your play style, right? Yeah. It's like, depends how you play. And like this wipe, I've played almost in like a weird RP kind of like super stealthy, like, and not necessarily super, kind of stealthy. Yeah, just really careful because I just feel very exposed with the new armor system. And then I ended up kind of like enjoying the way it was playing and like the vibes. I've been playing a lot of like Snow at Night, which, we'll talk about in a sec, but playing a lot of that, which has been, I never play night raids, but in the snow, it's like, it's beautiful. And like stalking people through the snow. Like, it's so cool. Like I'm just like, I'm probably like vibing this wipe. But that meant that the first sort of 60 raids or something, I had like an 80% survival rate, which was even better than I did the previous best wipe that I had. High. It was like insane. I died at the very first raid on Ground Zero. And then I put the AVS and the MDR on. And I went on a 14 raid survival streak, like right out of the gate. And that it puts you at such a huge advantage at the beginning. Yeah. Like I actually care a little bit less because I'll talk about it on stream. Like I care a little bit less about the survival rate now. Like I'm still just like, oh, my survival rate's going to tank now because I'm doing, setup and some other annoying quests where I just like die a bunch. But like I don't really care now because once you've got to 15, the game opens out and you can, just transfer one item to another and you can make money easily and blah, blah, blah. So like surviving a bunch up to level 15, I think is the thing that I do care about. And then after that, I'm like, okay, now we're set up. Now it's all good. I've got the hideout running, crafting all the various things. So now like money's not really an issue. And I'm just kind of like trying to progress as fast as I can. So yeah, but like I just don't get shot playing like that. And you have to get hit for vitality. Yeah. Like you literally just need to get shot more. And I just don't really get shot very much.
You need to get
so I end up with no vitality.
You get shot multiple times without dying, I believe. Like, I don't think you get any bonus for getting one-tapped. Yeah, exactly.
No, if you get shot in the head, you get like 35 damage worth of vitality. Mm-hmm. You need to be like sprayed down and be on like 5 HP because then you take 435 damage worth of like vitality points, and then you heal back up, and then you get into another fight and da. But that's like just not really how I end up playing. Like I usually either kill them with like, especially early wipe, I just kill them without ever taking any damage, or I die to them without even seeing them.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I just never get there. I don't think I've ever got there organically.
Same, yeah.
But I know a lot of people do. Somebody was saying that the meta strat is at the beginning, you go into factory just completely naked and you just go and die. Like you just grenade yourself or like use the starting grenades. You grenade yourself to like vitality 3 because you get no XP. You can just heal free with therapist. Oh. And you just go in and you just literally just churn it until eventually you've got it. Yeah. Or like get to like 2 or something, 2.5. You don't need to go all the way. You can get like 2.5 and then you'll just level it normally after that. But I'm just like, it feels so bad. Like I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want my survival rate to be 0 after 40 raids. Just start with like it just feels crappy, right?
I mean, you know what? No matter how you slice it, grinding it, it's just chore, man.
Yeah, it's painful. It's painful. So okay, yeah. So there's that. I've gone like kind of off on a off on a wild tangent here, but okay. So back to Arena, they're doing a seasonal based system. The next esports season is going to start in Q2 to the end of the year. Is it going to wipe? Yes, but it'll apparently wipe when they need to. They're actually going to try not to wipe it if possible. So they're going to wipe it when they have a big patch that requires a wipe, as opposed to like synchronizing it with EFT necessarily. Because we've seen the first one hasn't done that, right? So there has been no wipe while Tarkov's wiped. Who knows what's going to happen when they synchronize the characters? But I'm not. Yeah, I don't really know. We'll see. But yeah, they said they want to do it in terms of need. Presets, like as Nikita said, and I actually agree with him, that presets in Arena are good enough to go in and play and have fun, but
Sure.
they need to be balanced better for esports, which I think is a fair statement. This is true. And they are continuing to update things like vaulting. If you just move back to the base game for a sec, I know they did actually put all the stuff into Arena, right? So except for the armor system.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
I can't remember if that was true or not, but I definitely know that left side shoulder is in, new recoil is in, vaulting is in, but I don't think the armor rework is in. I can't actually remember. But in terms of vaulting, they were going to let people vault out of the Shoreline windows. There's like specific thing that they were talking about, which like we talked about before about vaulting out of the end window on the Shoreline resort. So maybe that's what they were on about. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like there's like lots of places you can't vault still where you think you probably should be able to.
Oh, so you say he does
especially
want
with
people
Windows
to vault out of
Yeah,
those.
he does
Okay.
want people to be able to, yeah. But it doesn't work at the minute. And then Nikita pressed the button and the magical thing happened. Everybody currently in raid in Tarkov. Unfortunately, I was offline. It started to snow. Started to snow in every raid. Started to pool up on every surface, which is honestly the most technical wizardry of all of it. Not the fact that it's just there, but the fact that it like appeared. And now, yeah, this is it. It's no Tarkov now, and we don't know when it's going to go away. They said something along the lines that they want the game to have seasons, which I think would be really cool.
That would be cool.
But I mean, how have you found it? I mean, the snow I think is amazing. I love the snow. It's completely like revolutionized the way I play the game. Like a lot of the maps, they feel different. The game's just like so sick. I can play night raids now without feeling awful. It's great. I've been absolutely loving it. I don't want the snow to go away.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. It like puts it's like a familiar take on or a new idea on a familiar thing, I guess. It's like customs now is like it's different. Like it's still familiar because it's customs, but like the way you play it and approach certain positions or whatnot is just different. Like I think my favorite part of it right now is Snoreline, which right now I feel like it's more Shoreline, because it feels really good with the changes they made. But yeah, like you can just like you really like the thing I'm finding a lot is like you really need to utilize shadows because otherwise when you're past a certain distance, most people's PCs don't render everything, past like 100 meters. Like bushes just won't render.
Yeah.
Unless you have an optic, then it will render. But you can just see little pixels walking across the snow. So it's like, oh, there's a player across the map, But if you're
it's like a black dot.
Yeah. But if you use the shadows, occasionally you can avoid that. So I don't know, it's pretty cool. I mean, I like you said, the night raids and stuff. I like it, and I'd be down for seasonal stuff. I think that'd be a cool way to experience various states of Tarkov, and yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, because we don't want it to be there forever, but like I'm kind of not excited for it to go away, honestly.
Yeah, I would like for it to stay a little bit longer. I'm enjoying it, so yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and so I wouldn't mind if it like every now and then it also came as well as being kind of seasonal. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But I mean, yeah, I'm really enjoying the way that it feels right now, and I think just like playing the new map Ground Zero as well in the snow as well. When it's like actually falling, you're like, man, this is like so sick. The biggest issue that people have in general about it is the footsteps because they're very, very crunchy. Which snow is very crunchy if you're walking on snow. It is how it sounds, but it has changed a little bit about footstep audio. You're very loud to yourself, and the one big change is that minimum speed crouch walking is not silent on snow.
Specifically snow.
Specifically snow, which makes quite a big difference. I mean, since the video that I did, a lot of people have told me that crouch walking at minimum speed on glass is also audible, which I didn't test in my video. So I'm pretty sure that's true now. I still haven't tested it myself, but enough people have told me. But snow is not like silent crouchable. So you may as well walk min speed because I think it's about the same like audible distance. You may as well have like the extra, the extra speed for a start, and also you're being stood up already. You can like run more easily and blah blah. So yeah, that's like an interesting one. Like the sound is a bit strange. Some other testing that was done again by other people. That you can't hear the snow crunching sound effect on other people's footsteps if they're further away than like 40 meters or something. And then after like 30, 40 meters, the snow footstep effect like begins like very distinctly.
Oh.
I was speaking to a guy, Space Monkey, in my Discord, who's been doing like lots of testing on lots of different stuff. I was running. He's actually in the chat now. He said it's running at 30 to 40 meters. So there's that. Like I haven't really noticed that myself, but apparently that is a thing because they went again tested like loads of snow stuff. So that's kind of interesting. But I mean, broadly, I think it's good. I like it a lot. I think like the ambient is different with the snow as well.
Yeah, that's
like I don't
another
think it
pro.
sounds as windy.
Yeah. Because there's that kind of weird Tarkov ambient noise that just like plays, and that seems to be very muted this wipe.
Yeah, like the weird thing about Tarkov's ambient is that I think it's just too high. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's a consequence of having active headset on. Like I've never worn an active headset, but it sounds to me like where I used to live, which was 800 meters away with a small hill in between me and like one of the UK's major motorways, which was not like it's not super close, but there's just continuous this like white noise.
Yeah.
So not enough to hear individual vehicles or anything, but it's just like just this continuous noise, and it sounds like Tarkov sounds like that. And I've always thought like I think it should be quieter. If you're in an actual forest, not near any roads or anything, Tarkov like doesn't have anybody driving about except maybe Mr. BTR in the streets. Like there's no one driving around in Tarkov. Like the ambient noise probably should be lower. I've always thought this, and the snow seems to bring in more real ambient because it is quite funny if you go into try and like make an offline game, for example, and go in practice mode and then go in settings. There is a bunch of stuff. There's like the wind settings are hilarious. It's hurricane, windstorm, strong wind, moderate wind, and light wind. There is no option for no wind. Light wind is the lightest that you can get, like the least wind that you can have, which I always find quite entertaining. But oh yes, just before we move on, actually, we'll talk more about the snow. I do want to address this now because somebody's asking this in chat as well. And this is kind of important, and I'm still. I think I've got to the bottom of it. I'm pretty sure we're at the bottom of it, but I just want to address it now, which is about headsets.
Yeah, I was hoping we were going to talk about that.
So it's like very relevant. So we'll talk about it now. There was some testing done by Willers and Sheaf, and they were in the underground of reserve. And they reported that no matter what headset they were wearing, / wearing no headset at all, that the distance at which they could hear another player was the same. And that BSG had changed it. Now, I clearly don't think they're wrong because they did the test, and I think that's what their findings were. And the problem is that they were underground in reserve, as I understand it. Now, I've not done any of this testing myself, so I only have so many hours in the day to do the various things I have to do. So I've not been able to sit here for hours and do all the stuff. But we've spoken before about the headset range chart, which was done by Omni Actual last wipe, and his chart was the one that I mostly referenced for various things, and I rechecked some of his numbers when I did my headset video, or sound video, I should say, not necessarily headset video, but sound video, and it all kind of made sense. So anyway, I actually ended up speaking to him directly, and he like jumped in my Discord, and I was like, this is, what do you think? And he went and retested it all in the same place, and it was the same. So it seems like outside in a normal area of Tarkov audio, it's the same as last wipe and nothing's changed. And that potentially reserve underground doesn't work like everywhere else because it's a weird inside area in some with occlusion zones or whatever happens inside on reserve. I don't know. Like reserve's known for being kind of buggy anyway. So I think that like both people can be right. But I think that the way that it's ended up like coming out into the community is ended up being a bit strange, because I know Hesley reported on it in his video. He's like big sort of, max traders and da. He talked about it, and he didn't reference them directly, but I presume he was talking about the Willis Sheaf test, saying headsets don't make any difference anymore. And apparently he stopped wearing headsets completely on stream. So now I'm getting bombarded with questions a bit like every 5 seconds about it. And it's like really confusing. So I don't know, like there was also a Reddit post which I saw about the same topic, which then had a few edits on it. And their conclusion was that nothing had happened to headsets, but that the bass audio range without a headset had been increased after being corrected like once or twice in the Reddit thread. And they came back with a few, they were editing the main post, the base post each time. So at this point, I think that's the deal. I think nothing has changed really. I don't know if the base headset, like the no headset audio range has changed. Like it might have. I think the area of reserve is bugged. I'm not really sure. Having not done any of it myself, it's a bit of a mess trying to like piece everything together.
Right. I mean,
so I think that's the deal, but yeah, I'm trying to make sense of it.
I wonder if actually, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I felt like the audio, I've worn a couple Kivers and a couple of LZHs, the whatever they're called. And I felt like the audio was like pretty on par with headsets, not always consistent. Like, I couldn't hear something and my teammate could hear something, but there's times where I could hear as well as they could, felt like. But it definitely is quieter. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, the other thing that's different for me too, this swipe, is I am playing at 80% audio in game versus 100.
All right.
Which something that Rengar put me onto, and it's kind of like this idea of just lowering the ceiling, and then you kind of like effectively lower the floor as well, which the floor being the ambient audio, and then the ambient audio being a lot less. This one's kind of like helped a lot. Like it's like it almost feels like there's zero ambient audio with how I got it set up right now. But anyways, yeah, definitely. I mean, someone's got to really test it out. But I'm kind of feel like I'm biased that something has changed, but I don't know for certain.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. I don't know at this point anymore. But I don't. There's also maybe an arena effect, honestly, because I found arena super weird when I first started it, because like you don't wear a headset, but you get used to using like a preset with a headset, a preset without a headset, a preset with contacts, a preset with swordids, a preset with GSSH, but then a preset without headset again. It's like normally we never ever play the game without a headset ever.
Right.
So I don't know whether that's got something to do with it. I'm not sure.
I mean, could it be too that the reduction in ambient audio has made some change somehow, affected people's feelings on it? I don't know.
Yeah, because maybe now you can hear those like little steps more easily
across the board.
Because the ambient change, because ambient is decreased a lot by headsets, just full stop.
Was it?
So if you're not wearing one, the ambient noise is The ambient noise is decreased by headsets.
I couldn't remember if it was okay.
Because in Tarkov, like Tarkov's weird because the active headsets they should make. Well, it depends. It depends on how they're set up. Anyway, like Tarkov has ambient noise as its own like channel in the game. Obviously, you can't separate that out, but it's its own thing. And the ambient gets lower when you're wearing better quality headsets.
Okay,
but if the snow decreases the ambient, then without wearing one, you'll be able to hear people from further because the ambient's not masking anymore. So like,
plus you got the crunchiness of the snow coming into play. I mean,
yeah, and so people's footsteps are maybe easier to hear.
Right.
So maybe it's a combination of all these things.
It's so hard to say.
It is very, very hard to say. The only other thing I'll say about the snow, though, is that a lot of the bushes, it's kind of as you were saying, it's easy to spot people, but like most of the bushes lost most of their leaves.
Yeah, dude.
It's very hard to just like chill in a bush now. You just can't really do it. Like you can, but you're pretty obvious. Like if you're stationary and you've got like the right cover, you're not silhouetted or anything. You're in a bush and you're a long way away. Like people are not necessarily going to spot you straight away, but if you're moving in there or somebody's like looking for you in a bush. Like I've had situations on Shoreline previously where I can hear somebody rustling in a bush in front of me, but I don't know exactly where they are in the bush. So I
it's
like don't want to shoot them
terrifying.
yet.
Yeah.
Like that won't happen now because it's
Right.
mostly sticks.
Yeah. I mean, that's
So,
another interesting change that I didn't really talk about. Like, I remember walking through like the backside of dorms out by the tents of 2-story, going towards 2-story, and there's like this Pavlov effect where it's like, okay, I gotta watch out for the bush Wookiees. It's like, oh wait a minute, there is no bushes, rats. You have no cover.
rats be gone.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like certain areas as well, like, the dreaded like box scavs up on Shoreline or whatever. And you're like, I could just see through all the foliage. There's like no big deal. Like it's the same with areas on woods too. It's just like, oh, I can just see the checkpoint scavs through the whole forest
Yeah.
because I don't need to see them clearly, but I can see them walking through the branches, And it's like, and the background is white.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Right.
So it's like, okay, like I could see them anyway. Like, we're good at spotting motion. Normally the leaves would cover it completely and it's very hard to see them. You just hear, what on Sulka from like, 25 meters away and buckshot starts going off. You're like, I literally I just couldn't see him at all. But now it's so much easier. So no, it's good. I like that. I think it's good. The anti-rat update of the snow is quite fun.
Rats down bad.
It's quite cool. So yeah, it's good. But yeah, I think that was it from the Tarkov TV. It was long and quite funny. There's like a whole bunch of funny clips which I've taken and like reserved for future use. One of them, Nikita talking about, is like, yes, this capybara is the new symbol of BS Battle State games. We are making a new game, Hardcore Capybara Simulator. You live as a capybara, you die as a you have fun as a capybara, and then you die horribly. I'm joking, of course. And then he just like carries on. It's like it's so funny. There's like loads of these like random clips of him just talking to the team, just messing about. It's so funny. It's so funny. But yeah, it's good, and they're happy. Everything sounds like just
Positive vibes.
Positive, right? And like, we've kind of gone from Nikita saying like, oh, we want to make this other game, blah blah, like, we want to be done with Tarkov and then move on. But he was like, oh, we're gonna be here, year after year. We're here for you guys. We're kind of like, it sounds like he's sort of changed his mind a little bit about like, I don't know whether he was talking about EFT in particular, but I do think like this wipe, like they get a lot of shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
This wipe must feel good.
Yeah, surely.
It must feel good for them, right? Like it must do. The team spirit must be at an all-time high. Seeing people love it so much, like it can't be any other way.
Yeah,
they're people. It's just the way it is,
for sure.
So it's good. It's good. So we cool. What have you got on your list?
Actually, I have one thing that's.
Oh, we'll talk about your stuff.
That's.
And then we'll move on to some of the other big topics.
Not on my list, but it is burning in my mind because I'm just kind of. I don't know. It's. Anyways, let's jump into it. I really was. I don't know. I guess I just played the game. I guess it's just like played it wrong or just thought it wrong. But I was like overusing the shoulder swapping.
Oh, right.
And my big gripe with it is that the animation like resets when you do a lot of actions. I don't know every action. But because of that, it's been it makes it very clunky and feels bad to use. And it's weird too because it like, I think I mentioned this last week, but it will reset to the classic example that's gotten me killed. Plus, a scav shoot me through a bush that I could not see through this time. But yeah, I was like fighting a scav, and I heard the scav, couldn't figure out who he was. Turns out he's behind a bush, trying to like peek him. But I went ahead and put the gun on the left shoulder because that's where the cover was to my right, and I'm peeking left, so it just makes sense. But he had threw a grenade at me, and I sprinted, and then I stopped sprinting, went to shoot at him, and because I sprinted, even when I toggled the left state, because it stays in that state when you toggle. I don't know how it works for other like continuous. I don't really mess with that, but I have it toggled. When you come out of sprint, it goes back into the right shoulder, and has to like animate over to the left shoulder again. Like, and I, I'm not touching the button at all. I don't know why it does that. And it's annoying because anytime you ADS or you're in the ADS and you do the shoulder swap, it does this weird bouncy thing. You can't see anything, and it throws off your center aim because your little camera shifts. It's just like, anyways. So I was like overusing it, but I really wanted to use it because it was like very fun and tactical and like operator, like clear building, just like right shoulder speak. Oh, switch shoulders, left shoulder, clear this. All right, sector clear. You know what I mean? But it's just like, it's frustrating, and I think part of the frustration, like I don't know. It's like, I feel like, because there's another, like the bumpy, I guess the gun bumpy thing. I don't know about reloading, if it does. I would imagine it would not. Anyways.
I think it swaps back to the right, though. I think it swaps back to the right for pretty much everything. I think so. I can go and quickly test that.
I'm testing. It does. Oh, dude, that's so annoying.
Yeah, like almost all the animations are right-handed.
Yeah, and the other way,
because they'd have to redo them all, right? Like, it's kind of like, I sort of understand.
I don't know.
It's like they'd have to redo all the animations. They'd have to redo all the reload animations for like. And to be fair, like, can you even reload it left-handed? I don't even know if you can do that, honestly, on some guns, because it's like actually, I don't really know, because I'm like, the only gun that I've used is like the British one, the British 5.56 rifle. But that's like, you have it here, and then the mag catch is like there. So like, if you got it here, like in the wrong shoulder, like, how are you gonna? You'd have to like hold it with the right, and then like undo. Like, I just don't know how you do that, right? Because it's like click and mag out, and then mag back in, and then like release.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how you do that left-handed. I'm not sure. Maybe you could, but I'm not like super experienced. But
I mean, I don't know the six or reload in the L85, but I would imagine like an AK, if it's just braced on your left shoulder, you use your left hand for the handguard is to brace it in, and then hit the mag release button.
And then use your right hand to go underneath.
Yeah,
is mag release? I'm assuming mag release is on the left on an AK too. I'm assuming.
I think I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, maybe you're right, but but the point being is there's a lot of animations that it resets to, and I would suspect, I feel like there's a way you could automate the process where you don't have to redo every animation. But anyways, because even if you like double tap it when it's in the right shoulder, it like does this weird teleport thing, and then when it's in the left shoulder, you double tap it, it doesn't do the same thing. Like, it just like feels weird. And it's just kind of frustrating because having played single player Tarkov and some of the mods that have like this type of stuff in it, not left shoulder swapping, but like different gun positions, it's like I never had any of those issues. So it's just like very unfortunate, because that was one of the things I liked the most about it. Like I said, it gave me that real tactical operator thing, and now it's just like, and I've noticed I've been watching people and I haven't seen like hardly anyone use it, except for like the case where you're stationary behind cover, the guy's on the left, and then you take the time to swap it, which it's nice to have it for that. But I just still was like really looking forward and like enjoying the experience, but because of all the jankiness around it, I've relegated to the H key, and sometimes, when I do use it, it's fine. Sometimes I actually pull out the grenade, but like I rarely use it now. It doesn't really.
Yeah.
It's like whatever.
I think for me, like, I don't really mind the sprint so much. I don't really mind reload. Like, that's not that big of a problem. But the biggest issue for me is the bumping up against something, because that can like really screw it up, and it can screw it up to the point at which you're in a left peak, and then the gun bumps against the wall. It swaps you to the right, but then because the gun's now on the right hand side, like, it will never go back to the left. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's a weird, like, it's almost like a latch kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, here's the graduations. It's like you can left peak to here,
right?
But once you've left peaked, you now have to go all the way back to here to get the left peak, or like all the way back to the end to get the left peak to work again, because you can't go the other direction, because the gun's now so much further across. You're still against the wall. You're still barrel stuffed against the wall now. So you have to go like even further out to come back to like tease it back in again. So I feel like the left side barrel barrel stuffing is the one thing that I would want being changed first before anything else, because everything else I can probably deal with, but that one is just a killer for me. But the left side like scope zoom is kind of cool because of the way that eye relief works, which is quite fun. Like I've used that a little bit just to get like a bigger reticle.
Yeah.
You have like a bigger sort of apparent zoom, because that's quite fun. But then I end up getting stuck in some weird mode where like I go back to right, and because I did some weird leaning thing and it's like frozen it like on the left side, but I went back to right, and then now the gun's like canted
I saw
permanently.
that.
And I put
I've
that in
had
my
that
video,
happen
and
once to me.
lots of people have said to me like, "Oh, you just have to like do this and open this scope and do this and that." And I'm just like, "Oh man, that's just like, yeah, it's just a bit crazy." I just end up dropping on the floor or whatever. Like you have to like somehow like undo what you did, but to this point I'm not entirely sure what I did. So I'm just like, I'll just throw it on the floor and pick it back up. Like I can't be bothered to think about it. Oh man, I did have like an unrelated, just terrible, terrible death yesterday. It was like the worst death ever. I was talking about the Elcan and how annoying the iron sight is on the Elcan, and then I proceeded to put a canted on the SOT-mod M4 from Mechanic. Went into the street, heard somebody creeping around the corner, opened a duffel, and I changed my scope setting without looking because I wasn't ADS, so I changed my scope setting like blind to the canted sight before popping up and ADSing, right, so they wouldn't hear me. And I popped up, and I was expecting the canted sight to appear on my screen, but what actually appeared was the iron sight on the Elcan because I only clicked it once. And so then I couldn't see through the Elcan because it was black. And obviously the canted sight wasn't up either. And so I was like, I didn't know what had happened in the moment. And so like the gun was like in this weird like half state of like, I should have been using the iron sight, but it looked like the scope was black. I wasn't on the canted. And I was like, what? And in the moment of like my confusion, the guy just turned around and headshot me as a scav. I was like, the worst. Like the worst kind of skill issue, honestly. Like I was like, and literally, I was talking in the setup about the Elcan and how annoying the iron sight is on the Elcan and how you probably shouldn't use it with the canted. And then I went and did exactly the thing that I was talking about. I was like, oh crap! Like that's just terrible. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
I see that you've got your packet of noodles on the list of things. We could talk briefly about that because we were talking about flash drives before.
Why did they, out of all the changes they made, why did they add noodles, a new item, and then it's like a rare, streamer item / purple background? Yeah.
It's like, Amelia Rye croutons weren't annoying enough, so we're going to add an item that's even more annoying in the place of Amelia Rye croutons.
It was awful.
It's actually awful. It is dreadful.
So many raids have been, deep, dark depression moments because it was the last pack of noodles I needed, and some unfortunate event happened and I died, and it's just like, no. And this wipe's been super weird for me because my progression has like been so like skewed. Like obviously because of Jaeger's noodles, Jaeger's been behind, but like funnily enough, it's like it didn't really matter because I could get level 2 Jaeger, just had to meet the level requirement because I guess EOD has enough rep to meet that requirement or something. It's something weird. But the Aerith has been like super under level. Like I just kind of got her back to like where it probably should be.
Level 3 maybe, or
well, I didn't really have a problem with like her rep
or trader level. It was
like questing. Like I was like, I mean, it felt like day 4 I was like still on Salewa's and I had 0 out of 3.
Oh
yeah, it was just like some really weird. I was just really slow leveling therapists or getting through her task. But now I'm kind of there. Like I've got colleagues 1, even though I've already done some Shoreline stuff, which colleagues 1's we gotta visit all the bodies on Shoreline in one raid. So I've kind of like managed to bounce back a little bit, but yeah, dude, noodles. That was, dude. I know everyone is probably dying to figure out where to get it. Just check everything. Because I found one on streets one time, just like on the ground in some building. Or no, sorry, that wasn't streets. That was the new map, Grim Zero. And I don't even remember where I found my next one. I might have spawned on this scav, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of nutty. Like I obviously had the question like 1,000 million times in chat
Yeah.
about like where noodles, and I didn't find mine for ages either. And I found it was even more annoying because I found my first packet on a guy that I killed on woods. So I was like, where did you get these? Like, I've got one pack and I don't even know where you found it because I just like murdered you in the middle of somewhere. Um, I killed the guy later actually, and he did pop into chat, and I felt quite sorry for him
Oh.
because we both turned up at. I had my noodles at this point, and we both turned up at the Woods car extract at the same time, and I saw him over the hill. He was on the, I guess, like the village side, and I was on the kind of the path towards like the sunken village side. And he popped up, and I fired a few shots at him, and then I just like lobbed a grenade. But the grenade, I managed to like underarm it between the car and the sign. And but I actually didn't realize because I didn't check the extracts. He'd already paid for the car at this point.
Oh.
So like his timer was ticking down, and I like threaded this grenade into exactly where he wanted to stand. So he was like running up at that point. So then he had to stand like the wrong side of the sign to try and get into the car, and I just killed him. And he came into chat, and I like went, yeah, we wandered over to his body, and he was just like, packet of Finding Raid noodles, like in his pockets. He was just like, yeah, man, that was my last one. Oh, it is what it is. I was like, I actually feel quite bad for you, right? You just get like naded at the vehicle extract. It's like terrible. Yeah, I mean, I didn't find mine for a while either. I found my second set on Shoreline in the new area, the cattle ranch, just on one of the tables, because I was going there for something else, and I just found it there. There's like loads of stuff, and like it's actually a really good loot
I was
area.
gonna say.
I've not seen too many people talking about it yet, but like there's food, there's industrial stuff, and then there's a vehicle extract. There's 100%
Yes,
right there.
it's my group have been hitting it up just for money runs, and it's like
Mm.
like it's more like, dude, it's crazy. Like it honestly is probably more profitable and in my experience less risky right now anyways than resort stuff like I used to
Yeah.
play. And it's just like, dude, there's so many tools, it's insane. I've got like Tetrises there as well. They're just like sitting on tables, and
I think I got one as well. Yeah, it's definitely like buffed a bit in that area for sure, which is quite cool. I mean, they often do that, right? BSG do that with new areas quite a lot before like turning it down a little bit after people start farming it. But yeah, it's really weird because I went through the full iteration of like where noodles, and I had chat telling me, streets, ground zero, yeah, interchange, yeah, definitely on here, definitely here, definitely here, definitely here, right? And it's just like every single person with their anecdotal experience of where they found them. And after gathering a large quantity of just people's experiences, the pattern that seemed to emerge was duffels can spawn anything.
Yeah.
So especially on like maybe ground zero and
streets,
like other maps you'd expect, like streets and stuff like that, you're probably more likely to get them in a duffel than maybe other places, just because you can spawn anything there,
right.
and they're a possible spawn. But the overwhelming majority of people were getting them in loose food spawns in particular, which is why I think people were struggling because they weren't finding them in interchange. Like if you go to interchange, like they're loose spawns, but they're not like they're loose spawns for like specific types of food. Right? It's like peas, max energy, colas, like two shonkers, that kind of stuff. Not necessarily noodles in particular. And people were finding noodles in like loose spawns, like in the offices, on the desks in ground zero and stuff like that. Like I found mine in a loose spawn on Shoreline in the cow bit. It's like there's lots of the loose spawns seems to be the better. Like this, and again, this is like no testing because you can't really test it, but just from reading 150 different people's experience in chat over a week, that seemed anecdotally to be where most people were getting, a decent chance of finding the spawns without just like, oh, I just found it in a duffel on these couple of maps. So if you still need noodles, then that's probably where to go. But I'll definitely bear that in mind next time because like I went to interchange a few times. I went around ground zero like 6 times. I went like ground zero killing Timmy's. There's loads of food on ground zero, and I felt awful because I was level 15. And I had to flee. I was like, I'm the problem that I was talking about. And people are just like trying to extract. There's like a team of like 3 people. They're like level 2, 5, and 6 or whatever. And they've got like 3 pistols. And I just turn up with like a G36 and just gun everybody down with 855. Like it was dreadful. I know, but I was like, this map is so tiny. I can get in and out so fast. Like it's probably the best place for just like churning food raids. But there's millions of crates and there's the offices and da. So like, I was like a proper monster for about 4 or 5 raids. But I didn't find any there. I didn't find any noodles on ground zero at all after like searching everywhere on that map. And And I was just like, okay, well, look, it's just kind of random. Like, I think that's almost the worst part about it. Like, yeah, maybe you can go to these loose spawns and it's probably a bit better. Yeah, maybe you can go to ground zero. Maybe you can go to here or there. But you just have to just keep searching
it's just
stuff.
a numbers
It's just
game.
RNG. You're just rolling the dice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, annoying.
Yeah. What was the other thing related? I was going to talk about. I can't really remember. So we'll just move on to. I guess I do want to talk about the quest progression, man. It is really different this wipe. I mean, ammo kind of ties into that as well. And this is pretty much. I mean, don't really know all the ins and outs, but this is pretty much the dream ammo progression Tarkov that I've always wanted. So I'm like very happy in that regard. Like, it feels great that. I mean, the one thing that I think might need some looking into. Yeah, I talked about this last week. It feels weird that scavs just have better ammo half the time. Like their gear is just better armor, better. Their actual gun is bad, but like if you export the good stuff, it's like you have a really good kit on your PFC.
Yeah, you got like I don't know, like a Ulay rig and an SKS with PS in it or whatever, and you're like, this is decent. Decent at the minute.
PS is like left behind. Is it Prepper 3? I think. Yeah, it's Prepper 3.
I think so. Yeah.
It might even be quest locked also, which is another interesting part. I just noticed last night. I think it was in your stream. I heard that someone said that M80 was on Peacekeeper 3, and I was like, oh yeah, I got Peacekeeper 3. Let me buy some M80. And I was like, there's no M80 here. That's odd. So I looked up on the wiki, and it turns out M80 is locked behind the quest revision on Lighthouse. And there's a ton of like barters, items, things traders sell that are like just scattered about in various quests, ammo included. And it's kind of interesting. Like I kind of like it, also kind of dislike it in one sense because it's kind of harder to like know what to expect to unlock, and like kind of like now it's like much more intricate, and you have to like find the stuff on the wiki you want to get and see if it's locked, and then figure out what quest line that is and how to get to that quest line. But I kind of like that at the same time because it sort of makes the progression more I don't know, I guess like interesting, and also it's like you're constantly kind of getting some minor upgrades instead of like this big chunk where you unlock the trader and you maybe use like 20%. You lose all the good stuff, Whereas this like kind of like scattering out the good stuff around, namely like ammo and armor and stuff. Because even like
it's weird.
Ragman has selling the 6B. What is it? 6B 23.
6B 13.
32.
Which one? All the armor names.
Yeah.
The 6B 13 is the
6B 13 Flora. Yeah.
Because
that was behind. I think it was the quest where you had to visit all the stores interchange.
Yeah, those two armors, like the Ulay and the other one, are behind quests now.
Yeah, and it's like
pretty interesting. Like the Thor's behind database.
Oh, is it? I gotta do that then.
If you want the Thor, that is. It's got no neck armor on
True.
it. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, what's it? Big Sale? Oh, Big Sale's. I don't. It's not Big Sale. It must be a different.
I think it is Big Sale. Oh wait. Yeah.
I'm having it now.
Completed. Let's see.
Oh, Audit is for the 60-13.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
And then Ballet Lover is for the Ulay.
Yeah. I got it.
And then yes, Punisher Part 1 is PS from Prepple 3.
Okay, I thought I remember seeing that somewhere.
The thing that I don't mind this, but the thing that I don't like is they've still got the unknown reward thing.
Yeah.
The quest thing. I almost would like rather know a bit in advance. Like it feels a little bit like I can't plan. It's just like I'm just completing quests like sort of at random, because half the time the wiki's not up to date at the minute either. Because I did see one of the guys from the wiki talking about it, just saying like manpower is just really low because of it being like Christmas and New Year and all that stuff. So like a lot of things they'd have up to date just aren't. Like a lot of the crafts are just wrong. The ammo is just like, it's just not correct on most of the pages. Like it says you can craft M856A1 at Workbench 2. You can't. It's not true. You know, there's loads of stuff that's just actually just outright incorrect
Mhm.
because there's loads of pages that are like the wiki's complicated because I mean it's beautiful because of how detailed it is, but there's lots of like crossed pages. You know, there's a page for M856A1. M856A1 is also on the page for 556 ammo.
Mhm.
It's also on the ballistics page as its own line. You know, and all of these things need to separately get up to date, right? There's not like it doesn't work in a sort of centralized like referencing kind of way where here's one master page
Mhm.
for 5.6, then it pulls from there. That's just not really the way wikis work. So it's it's a bit random right now, and like you can't trust what the wiki says, and because people haven't got there either. It's like the wiki currently says that M855A1 is no longer sold at all. You can't get it, which is true. But there is a craft for it, as it turns out, which I wasn't aware of in the first day of the wipe or something. But it doesn't show up on the fleet because it's a craft, so you can't see it because it's in Workbench. But you have to complete your car needs a service or
Right. I was gonna
something
say
to M855A1. So it's quite a high level quest. And
Mhm.
I was talking to Sad, who's like one of the highest level people that I know in my community, who like gives me screenshots and stuff usually. And I said, "Oh, have you completed it?" He said, "Oh no, because I haven't farmed Kaban yet. Because you have to have the closed section key to complete it."
Yeah, that's
So not many
crazy.
people have even done it, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at the flea market, and there's one key for 5 million. So it's like, you know, like you can get
Right.
5501, it turns out. And so I'm not sure, like, we don't really know the full situation yet. Like, I don't think anybody really knows if you can craft 995 yet. No one really knows. You might be able to, but it might be behind like a Lightkeeper task or something. And just like no one's got that yet.
Yeah. And speaking of which, you just reminded me of something. I had found a box of M995, and this swipe, it looks like they've added a ton of new models, like even more models than they did last swipe for different ammo containers. And it was a 100 round box, and it took up like it
Mm.
was like I think it was a 2x1.
Like a 2x1 or something.
It might have
Yeah.
been a 2x2, honestly. Like it was
Oh, really?
completely new. Like I said, it was 100 rounds, and I unpacked it, and it was 100 rounds of M995. I was like, that's really cool. And that's another one of my big Tarkov dreams, having stuff like experiences like that. So that was pretty.
It looks like a 2x2 actually.
Yeah,
Looking at it in the
I was
handbook.
gonna say I think it was, but I don't.
Because it's a big square.
Yeah, it's a really big square.
Because there's a 50 rounder that looks like the 120 packs for the 545. I mean, that's probably the scaling's probably a bit weird, but I mean, I don't mind that though. It's pretty cool. But yeah, as you said, like it's almost like the ammo wipe that we've been asking for ages, right? Just make the ammo more scarce, and it goes hand in hand with the armor system. It's like it's the perfect time to include it because you don't feel completely helpless going against people with armor now.
Yeah.
So all these things like tie together,
And
it's quite interesting.
So far, I mean, this is only like level 2 workbench. The ammo crafts there, like, yeah, it's like BPC, LPS, it kind of like still mid-level stuff, but they're only like 3-hour crafts, I think, roughly.
They're all a lot shorter.
And you get
now.
like 100 to 150 depending on the ammo, of course. And that's like,
which is a lot better.
Yeah, that's so much better because like, yeah, if you that's you should easily be able to craft that overnight with your power off.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine.
Probably, actually. I can't remember how long it goes for, but yeah maybe.
I don't remember the reduction amount.
Me neither.
I think it might be pretty extreme. Let me just see real quick. I got this wrench that's got 3 minutes. So if I cut it off, what does that jump to? 50 minutes. So that's kind of big.
Yeah, that's more than I was expecting.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it might have been pretty significant. So that's like 15 times, 15
like
multiplier.
A little bit longer, tiny bit longer, but yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 hours becomes 2 days or whatever.
Okay, so maybe not.
Maybe not.
But maybe regardless, I still think it's so much better than like 8-hour crafts for,
or like 14 hours, some of them, like insane.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that will not be the case as we get some of these better, more lucrative ammos to craft. But yeah, I think that's great it's a big win for everyone. I feel like
it's felt really cool. It's reminded me of when I first started in many ways, because as well, like we've got the old ammo economy in general, but we used to start, you look at the ammo table and it's like, okay, here's all the stuff that's banned off the flea. And then you basically use like, let's talk about like, last wipe was like the worst culprit for it, even though it felt quite fun. But 5.56, you just wouldn't use. Get to Peacekeeper, and then you'd use 5.6A1, get to Peacekeeper 3, then you'd use 5.5A1, and then you might craft 995. And that was it. You're just like sat at the bottom of the table. Whereas this wipe, it's like 855 is on Peacekeeper 3. What you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, so like you've got a bunch in your stash, and then you're going, okay, well, what am I supposed to do here? Like, am I going to use FMJ with like 20 pen? Like, well, it pens the soft armor, so like maybe that's all right. Okay, well, I'll use 855 because I've got it because I'm USEC or whatever. And then it's like, oh, there's actually a new, you know, for 556, it's like changed a bit because SOST got a big buff. So that now sits between FMJ and 56A1 because SOST ammo now has 33 pen. So it's better than FMJ, and you can make it the workbench too. So it's like, oh, okay. This is the mid game ammo now. 5.6A1 is now Peacekeeper 4. 5.5A1 is, you know, behind the crazy quest, as we were saying. So, but it like pushes everything out, makes everything feel better. But you can find them sometimes in raid. Like 5.56 is less available, obviously. But like I've been finding lots of 5.45 as you usually do, and using PP got a little bit of a nerf, and you can't buy that on the trader anymore. BP got a buff, and BT got a nerf instead. They just swap places basically. But then you can find them in raid again. But you know, you can buy PP and PS off the flea, and you can buy SOST off the flea, as with M855. So that's what reminds me of like the old wipes, because it's like, oh, I'm buying like my mid-tier ammo. I bought quite a bit of PP and PS off the flea market to run in 5.45 AKs, and I was like, this feels all right. But then I know that the end game isn't destroyed because all the other ammos are like locked. So it's like, okay, this like feels quite good actually, progression wise, and people still die using those bullets. So you're like, doesn't feel, you know, it doesn't feel like a rush to the high pen stuff now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I have to see how it plays out, because on one hand, it's, you know, it could be seen as a negative, like level 50. I have to do all this grind just to get the best stuff to kill the Giga Chad, you know. That there could be like that type of like mentality, which maybe there's merit to that. I don't know, but right now it feels, I'm enjoying it. I like it. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. But yeah, so I mean, I guess like talking from going from bullets to talking about like recoil, we've sort of been touching on it as we've been going through. My main concern about this system was that we were going to erase kind of the RPG progression of the attachment system, and kind of what was the point. To some extent, that has played out, but I have found that as I play and use the guns and play the game, I just don't care. Because all the guns feel good. You can make a gun feel a bit better, but not like, well, we'll see actually. We're not at meta attachments, but I was talking to somebody in chat about this the other day. That the difference between, you know, if you go to Peacekeeper and you look at the M4, for example, this has got 84 recoil base. But you can only make this, like the best that you can do now is like, I think it's 50. I think I've actually got a preset for it open. Let me see. Min recoil. Yeah, so the minimum recoil, and this is like RK2 and all the gubbins. Yeah. This is 45 recoil. So as I was saying to them, you know, they were worried about like the meta stuff, and I was like, you know, before though, we were going from 84 recoil to 23 recoil.
Yeah,
as a minimum. Yeah. We're now going from 84 down to 45, and like, yeah, it feels different, but in many ways, because of the changes to the like PMC auto comp, it almost feels like recoil is. It's not only that the top to bottom is limited. It's almost as if the actual recoil itself matters less as well. Because I've been testing like various guns, and if you test something like the G36 against the Scar, for example, they all have like almost the same recoil. Like very similar. Like the initial pull is harder on the G36 just simply because it fires more and fires faster. But the actual like height of the recoil isn't any taller, particularly for something with similar recoil numbers. And the gap between the bullets isn't actually any bigger or anything. So it's weird because like previously, because the PMC auto comp kicked in like literally on round 1, and there was over exaggerated initial recoil, those low fire rate weapons ended up becoming quite good, right? Because they were continuously pulling down, and because the gun was firing at a low rate, it meant the recoil was really stable. Whereas on the faster stuff, it was just like completely overwhelmed the auto comp, and it just flew up into the air. Whereas now, because the auto comp is gone, but the recoil, the initial recoil is like reduced now, is like something normal. Both guns go bang, 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 bang in the same spot. Because I think I mean, I don't know exactly how they've overhauled the system yet completely, but I suspect that Recoil still does what it used to do, which is it just dictates the rise of the muzzle. But because there's no auto comp now, it's the same between all the guns. So they all rise to the same point.
Yeah, I don't.
It was the same recoil, I think. I mean, this is just my suspicion. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I did some testing with like I was kind of playing off some different builds because I was thinking along similar lines. Like recoil's probably less valuable, especially too that they've like nerfed the pretty much all the suppressors and muzzles too.
Yeah.
Like all the muzzles give like some ergo penalty, even like a lot of the stock ones. But anyways, yeah, you get like less recoil and less ergo than you used to for like the suppressor combos, right? And because the recoil is like so much more manageable to swipe, I just felt like in general, maybe we'll see more of a skew towards ergo. But I'm not totally sure because I don't know, it's just uncertain. Like I was testing out the like a kind of like a shorty foul, and I think like compared to using some of the other guns, that range where it's climbing, we'll say. There's like two states in my head. There's like the vertical climb, and then there's the wild spray where it just like it stops climbing, but it just goes kind of wild. And I imagine that my current working theory is that the scale of the climb is relative to like RPM, possibly, but probably recoil, like the recoil value, right?
The number,
some number somewhere, who knows? But we'll say the recoil value, right? And also the wild jumping, like how far it jumps from the center, is also tied to that number. Because the MP5SD actually feels really good to just full auto because the jumps really aren't that great.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because I also don't know. This is kind of the other interesting part of the puzzle is previously we had hidden stats that affected weapons in different ways, like namely the G36 is a good example where it was like very tightly vertical.
Yeah,
that was sort of the trade-off. Is like you got this tight vertical variance in terms of the recoil, but the trade-off was that it was kind of like, you know, shot relatively fast, didn't have the best recoil compared to that M4 that you could mod out to 23 or whatever ridiculous number. So if that's gone away, hypothetically, that changes the playing field for a lot of things, because something like the AUG, for example, it had this really, because there was another
oh church. Oh,
now we're getting to the good stuff. It had this weird, because this is the other thing too, there was not only was there like different values on variants, you know, some had like wider variants, some had smaller variances. There's also this thing called like angle, where guns like the AUG, the PPSH, the AK-101, it was very subtle on the AK-101, but they would like they would prefer a certain direction, you know. It wasn't consistent, but they kind of, and the AUG namely was the most wildest one, because it would like, it could go completely up or it could go completely horizontal to the right, and anywhere in between. You just never knew what you're going to get when you shot that thing. But now that's gone. So it's like, whoa, but is it gone? Because I don't know. Is some of the vertical climbs more vertical versus some of the others because of some instat? There's so much to be discovered and tested there that I think is really interesting.
Yeah, we don't really know yet, but for the most part, all those things seem to be gone. Yeah, the PPSH doesn't pull to the side anymore. The AUG actually got reworked before that and didn't pull anymore. Not like it did anyway. I can't remember if it went completely vertical, but yeah, they changed it from like whatever it was, some ridiculous number, to something more sensible. I haven't actually tested the AK-101, interestingly. It's like one of the few guns I haven't actually looked at yet. But one funny sort of like, it's interesting how these things flip on their head, right? So like it reminds me of the UMP. Like they introduced the UMP in 12.11 when everyone had laser beam recoil and everyone was like, low RPM, this gun is complete crap. And nobody ever used the UMP.
Oh,
and then 12.12 came about. Do you remember, right?
Yeah, that's funny.
12.12 came about.
Yeah.
They changed it so that it was, very heavily based on RPM. And like the UMP
Suddenly
became
the
meta
ump
all of a
was,
sudden.
yeah.
Everyone was like, hold on a second, you can buy like AP ammo for this thing, and it's like an
Mhm.
actual laser beam compared to everything else. It's like so funny how that ended up working out. And it almost reminds me a little bit of that with the AUG now, because I've been testing some guns this morning actually, and I played with the AUG a little bit, and I was like, oh, this seems okay. And I've been doing some actual side by side stuff with it, and yeah, I was like, oh, hang on a sec, because the AUG, yeah, used to have this sideways recoil, but that was countered by the fact that the recoil was like 44 to start
Right.
with, which it's low, it's really low. But now because of the way that the stuff's been reworked, the AUG still is 44 recoil, but now it's vertical.
Yeah.
And it's like the other guns. And there doesn't seem to be any horizontal recoil on the initial burst on any of the weapons.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, MDR, yeah, M4, yeah, these, okay, MDR's a little bit lower, G36, And then the AUG, I was just like,
Hang on a minute.
oh my God, this gun is actually
Yeah.
like, this gun is nuts. So I think the AUG might be crazy.
I think so too.
I'm just, but the problem is you need Peacekeeper 3 really. Like I did recommend it at level 1, which you can do, right? And the site is like, it's usable now because of the way they changed the recoil system as well. So you can look through the site and it doesn't black out everywhere, and you can actually keep your thing on target. But like, it's a ring, it's not very big, like it's not the best site ever.
Sure.
And then you can't put a laser on because it's the A1 edition. And like, yeah, you could buy an A3 off the flea, but then you've got height over bore, and the whole thing's just awkward and weird, right? But yeah, once you get to Peacekeeper 3 and you can change the upper, and then you put on the little low rail, and then you're like, oh man, I think I've got the one that I was testing. I think it's in my inventory still. This one I put on, I just went with a regular one. I actually did mini monster on this thing, because that's still pretty good. Mini monster on the AUG, you get to 60 ergo and 44 vertical recoil, because like the recoils are kind of all the same. It's a lot lower than even like the MDR, for example, in terms of its verticality. It's very good. I used it on a street raid or two, but then I died with it, unfortunately. But yeah, with the Peacekeeper 3 changes, and I'm using an A1 because I don't feel that the A3 is probably not worth it anymore, right? Because we're talking about like an inconsequential amount of ergo and an inconsequential amount of recoil, which doesn't matter anymore. The horizontal recoil hidden stats are gone, as far as we can see. And so just like change an A1 over to the A3 upper, it costs you like 65k.
Oh, you can do
that. The A1 is like 50k. Yeah, because the A1's like 50k on the fleet. You could take the base A1, stick the upper on instead, put the barrel back in and put the grip back on, and then put a muzzle on it, and then you can put on whatever dot you like.
Oh, I didn't even know you could.
You don't have to start with an A3. Yeah, they're interchangeable.
Okay,
which is very cool. So I feel like that might be the sort of budget winner, because I've been using the G36 and it's good. Like the G36 is good, but the AUG has 715 RPM, which is nice. It's good enough for sure. And this low recoil, which is kind of cool. And then when you can change it over to this, then you can easily put a little laser on, like it's cheap. You could buy 45 rounders for it, which is bigger than the 40 rounders that you can get for all the other guns.
Yeah. Extra 2 bullets like value.
You get like an extra bit of oh sorry, is it 40? Is it 42? Yeah, it's 42, isn't it? Not 45. Yeah, so you get like an extra 2 rounds. It's but you can buy extended mags for it, is the point.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's like it has high ergo, which is like probably the more important step this wipe, considering also that these suppressors and muzzles got nerfed. Like there's kind of less ergo to go around.
Yeah, like it certainly does if you use the mini monster for sure. But like, and that's the thing. I used to really like the Scar, but I just don't feel like I want to use the Scar anymore.
I feel the same because the ergo is just
I get the same recoil. The ergo is super low, and it like blocks a ton of the screen, which normally I don't really mind if the recoil's good. But yeah, the recoil's kind of, it feels the same as like the G36 or something. So why would I do that? To be honestly, like I think on the AUG you could get away with a hybrid 46 suppressor.
Oh yeah, and I've been using the hybrid quite a bit, like on the RFB, just for the extra ergo. Because like I mean maybe I'm sure for like an SC58 that won't be the case, but maybe. Well, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, I mean that gets you. I mean, on this one that I've got, that gets you like 50 ergo, which is all right with the suppressor.
Yeah,
I think that's fine.
I mean, with the suppressor, that's pretty good.
I've been testing out Shorty Fal as well, which I've only been using it really as a DMR, but it's much more controllable than it used to be.
Well, what's interesting, because now that we're talking about weapon builds, the Fal, I have one as well. This is a shorty one. I haven't used it yet. I've been meaning to, but I've always just kind of like, well, because this one's kind of like it has no rear rail on it, so you have to do the front rail sight, and I've always kind of like, but
Yeah. But it's okay now, like
yeah,
because of the way the pivot works. The front mounted, like the handguard mounted optics, or not optics necessarily, but like sights. The front mounted sights are, usable. They don't just, the dot just doesn't disappear off into infinity when you just fire one bullet, which is what used to happen. I used to just not even be able to see at all. Like you'd just be looking at a piece of glass and the reticle is just nowhere to be seen. You're like,
yeah,
oh, okay. But now it seems to work a bit. No, but I got one, I picked one up from a guy with the extreme duty dust cover, which is why I was testing it. So I had a TAC 30 on it and I was like using it on woods a little bit. I actually found a Scar H as well. I had like a really lucky find early, which is quite nice because I got to use it for a little bit. And I was in like, it was the most sort of tactical, like role playing raid I've ever had because I had like a suppressed PP19. Then I found a Scar H with BCP in it, BCP FMJ, and an Elcan I found in the raid. So I was like going around with this like big DMR type gun on customs with like my PPS, with my PP19 just for dealing with like scavs at close range. Like it felt so cool, just like going trudging through the snow, like battle rifle on the back and suppressed submachine gun on the sling. It just felt so cool. But yeah, so I lost that unfortunately. But I've still got the SA, which was it felt good, especially on full auto close and like semi at distance. Like it was all right, honestly. It's all right.
yeah. I mean, it
Yeah, it's
doesn't
pretty
feel
crazy.
bad compared to what it
Yeah,
used to. I mean, it's definitely once
exactly.
it hits that apex, though, it does feel pretty bad. But
It punches around a lot. Yeah,
yeah,
and it's deceptive fighting the shooting at the close target. Like trying to keep it on target on the far target, you kind of get a better feeling for how much it jumps because the close target is pretty close. It is quite hard to keep it on a distant target and get accurate shots. Like you're just
right.
hoping to hit anything at that point. But I mean that's fine. It's still way better than it was. Speaking of guns and like big guns, have you even like tested or used the Sig Spear yet? Have you tried
I
it?
have not. No.
No, I bought one just out of curiosity because they're available still on the fleet for
Mm-hmm.
some unknown reason. I don't know why they're still available there. I guess just for testing purposes or whatever. But they're like 200K, so they are expensive, and I can't buy the suppressor for it. Or maybe I can now, but I couldn't when I bought it. But I could buy because I'm Peacekeeper 3. I can now buy FMJ, the first bullet for it,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
basically the same as by 51 BCP FMJ. It's basically the same thing. But you can shoot like this thing on full auto with a 25 round mag at 800 RPM, which is nuts. I think the Spear is probably going to be the best gun. Like
It's gonna be a
I think it's definitely
contender
on
for sure.
par. It's definitely on par with like the only thing is the limited supply of ammo. Like it's sort of that intermediate between 762 by 39 and like the by 51 guns because the full autos on 51, unless you're using the FAL, you can only have a 20 rounder. The FAL can get the 30, but it's quite heavy, but maybe that'll end up being really good. But like the RD or the mutant, I haven't felt the recoil on those yet, so maybe it's different, but they can get the 50 rounders and da da da. So this thing gets 25 rounds, but it fires like an intermediate bullet in between the two, which is like pretty good. And the ammo's on traders too. So Peacekeeper 3 and Peacekeeper 4, there's only 2 cartridges.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it's on like the best ammo is on Peacekeeper 4, I think is maybe kind of just like broken on its
Yeah,
own. Maybe it's not a craft.
because that's always been the name of
Um,
the game, right? Is like, how can I get what's the most available,
hmm,
most penetrating, highest damage
exactly.
ammo?
And this thing has got Sig FMJ, as we said, is 80 damage and 36 pen, which is good, but it's not as good as say like M80, right? Which feels sort of like balanced.
Mm-hmm.
But Sig Hybrid is 72 damage and 47 pen.
Yeah, that's up there with
And
BP.
And the reason why this is insane is because it's the same pen as
Yeah.
BP, which hits that perfect like classified breakpoint, or at least it used to. I mean, we're gonna maybe we'll talk about that in a second about armor, but it does like a lot more damage, right? 72 is a lot for 47 pen, and the issue is that by 51 in 51 NATO in 760 NATO, the pen goes 41, 44, 64, and that's the biggest issue with the big NATO bullet because M62 is like comparatively low and M61 is like so high and there's no real middle ground. Whereas this is like the perfect middle ground and you can buy it from the trader.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
the
buy it
key, right?
47 pen and 72 damage and yeah, it's Peacekeeper level 4. Like, yes, it'll probably get banned at some point, but like this round is insane, right?
Yeah.
And you can fire it full auto out of the Sig Spear. And I've got one with its special Tango. Or what's the scope even called? It's got its own. It's got a scope that kind of comes with it. Recommended this new one, Sig Tango 6T, which is good. It feels like the Voodoo and the Bravo had a baby.
Oh, okay.
It's like the Voodoo, but with the Bravo reticle in the middle. It's like how it feels, to me at least. But it's it's pretty accurate. It's you can shoot it on full auto at like decent distance. The bullets are extremely powerful.
Right.
The only downside is just its sheer cost. I think it's 1,800 rubles from Peacekeeper, and it's like nearly 300k on the fleet.
Yeah.
So it is pricey, but I think that's probably fair enough given where it stands in the meta.
Interesting note as well. It comes stock with 20 rounders, but it can take 25 rounders. And also those 25 rounders can go into 7.62 NATO weapons as well, like the RSS.
Oh.
Yeah. So now you can
really?
get. Yeah, I found that out.
I was not aware of that. Oh ho ho.
Yeah. So you can if you want, you could even put in just the regular 20 rounders for additional +1 ergo, squeeze that little bit of min-max, but then you can upgrade. You just get an extra 5 rounds in there compared to the PMag.
What is it compatible with? The MDR, the Spear, obviously, the SR25, and the RSAS. Okay, so it's not all of them. It's only some of them.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right, yeah.
But for that to go in the MDR...
Yeah, MDR
is quite big,
nice.
Actually.
Yeah.
SR25 and RSAS as well is obviously amazing.
Yeah.
So I was not aware of that. That's very interesting.
A little buff to those weapons,
Because the MDR in particular could do with that because of the full auto mode.
Yeah.
It really turns it into like a proper sort of CQB-able gun. Like 20 is enough, but it's tight.
Yeah.
Whereas 25 is a lot better. But the MDR fires quite slowly, right? Like I think that's the only issue maybe with the Spear is that it's almost like it's M4 levels of, I mean, it's 800 RPM, right? So the bullets just crazy, they go. They go. You run dry really fast.
That gun's gonna melt.
If you do full auto it. Yeah, it's gonna melt people. Like the RPM on it, absolutely crazy. Yeah, it's like firing exactly right. Like what the Mutant is like crazy meta, and that's 700 RPM rather than is it 650 the Mutant? I think the Mutant's 650.
I don't even know, honestly.
Because I think the RD is 600 because that matches the basic AKs. Whereas the do I even have? I thought I had a Mutant somewhere. Maybe I keep dying whenever I pick one up. I think I've died every time I pick one up.
So RD is 600, like you said. I think Mutant is 650.
Yeah, Mutants, I think it's 650.
Yeah, 650. You're right.
Yeah, so 650, right? And that fires BP, and we know how like crazy it is to be on the other end of the Mutant. This thing fires. It's better than BP, and it fires at 800 RPM. Like we always thought that the FAL was like the lowest time to kill in the game because you can fire 716 NATO out of it at 700, right? This is another 100 RPM. It's an M4 firing like a baby between M80 and BP.
Yeah, I mean,
it's monstrous. It's genuinely monstrous.
It's kind of like the big brother of the SIG MCX. Kind of like the 762 version of the SIG MCX.
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know like IRL how those like whether they're even other than being made by the same company, but I'm not sure whether they're like related in any particular way. But
oh yeah, this
is pretty awesome.
Yeah, this is the other thing is like they added these new stocks and like little attachments here and there, some new muzzle devices, but just another thing that kind of like triggers me a little bit. It's like some of the new muzzle devices, they're like the exact same as like some other previous muzzle device that we have for like an AK. But it's like, well, I don't even know if it's any cheaper or it's just like it just feels like a clone. It's like, why was this even added? But they added some new stocks that I thought would be kind of cool, like this AR-15 Daniel Defense enhanced collapsible butt stock. And you could put a butt pad on it, but it's just kind of not good. Like the Mo beats it still, so it's gonna be another Mo. Like a lot of stuff hasn't really changed in that regard, unfortunately. There's some
attachments have just not been touched really outside of muzzles, I think.
Yeah, I mean they've had, like I said, they added some new stuff. Some of it's just like skins, like reskins, like desert versus black, which is fine. But some of the new ones like go on, like specifically the Daniel Defense M-Lock vertical grips that go on the M-Lock rails.
Yeah, they're cool actually. They're quite good.
Yeah, they're fine. But a lot of the stuff hasn't really changed in that aspect,
Yeah, the only
unfortunately.
one that's like kind of cool is that and let me just go and make sure what it's called. So if you go to any of the AKs that take the AK special stocks, like the PT1 or the PT3, the PT1 now takes the AK butt pad,
Yeah, I did catch that on your stream as well.
which is kind of weird. And so now the PT1 with the butt pad is identical on stats to the PT3.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. Whereas the PT1 is what, 13k, and the PT3 is 23k, but the butt pad is 4k. So yeah, the PT3 is slightly lighter. We're talking like 200 grams. So
Yeah.
but it's like it's cheaper to go PT1 plus butt pad than it is to go PT3, which is something slightly better that in that regard. There's a new adapter for AKs as well, which is the CG 101 AR type pistol grip adapter, which then allows you to add like Western grips. You can't put on like the Grau, unfortunately, but you can put on, say, like the Paracord AR-15 skeletonized grip instead. So there's like even more adapters to get stuff over. I think you're still better off with the custom. That's that weird sniper grip one, the ergonomic grip for AKs. That's still
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
best, quote unquote, because it gives you an extra 2 over this this funny one. But it's interesting, I guess. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be that much use for it, but
No.
it's intriguing that you can at least do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there for
Don't
the
think it's that valuable.
RPers, I suppose.
Yeah, there was another there's a couple of handguards. Like, what's this one? At the Aspid, the AK Alpha Arms Aspid, 2.5 recoil. Okay, but I think like a lot of this stuff, it just doesn't really matter now. Right, the Dominator handguard. Like, we don't really care about recoil now so much. I've been using like Tango down stubby vertical foregrips on my builds when I couldn't buy the
Honestly,
VFG, and I'm just like, just use like whatever.
yeah, that's what I've been prioritizing. Just give me that +7 ergo. For
Yeah,
the
that's sold
CAC.
out all the time. You see,
Yeah.
because it's like the same ergo as what, like an RVG Black, but
Yeah.
no one cares about like the 2% recoil because it just like makes very little
Right.
difference. Like it didn't matter much before, and now it just, you can't even tell. Like, I can't tell whether it's modded
Yeah.
or not half the time. I can't even tell whether it's got suppressor or not these days with the guns.
Yeah, and that's the
It's
thing
kind of
too.
wild.
Since they nerfed the suppressors, both in terms of ergo and recoil, just the gaps are going to be. I mean, as you said, like the M4, for example, it's like we used to went from like 80 to 20 or whatever. Now it's like
Yeah.
80 to 40, and probably more realistically, it's going to be like 45, maybe 50, because ergo is a stat you want. Drum mags are also a thing that's nice. I don't. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, even if I just quickly build, so for the M4, it is genuinely 45 is the best build, which is amazing to me. But yeah, even if you build something like relatively sensible, even still like long barrel, the best muzzle brake combos, you're talking 50 ergo. No, sorry, 50 recoil.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've really closed the gap a lot, and that's with all the stuff. And I'm sure the 50 recoil M4 doesn't, like, I haven't built one yet, but I'm sure it doesn't look that much different to the 80 recoil M4 in the new recoil model. It would have back in the day.
Back in the day,
But
for
the 80
sure.
recoil M4 was like terrible, right? But
Yeah.
now, because it goes, it's just going to be the height of that spray, and then the actual like wild section will be like slightly smaller.
Right. Which
doesn't make that much difference.
Right. I mean, I feel like that's going to be the general case, which I think is overall a very good thing, in my opinion.
I think so, because I just think at this point, like, everyone being able to use their guns in a way that is enjoyable is more important than us sweating about like the leveling progression.
Yeah, I feel the same.
That's the conclusion I came to, because as I said, I was concerned about it before, but now I'm just like, this is for the best, honestly. And like all the parts in there, you can kind of use whatever. You can make your guns look cool as well. Like, Tarkov's just a very sort of RP gun builder kind of game, and the fact that you had to use like very specific combinations to make the guns good actually felt pretty bad. Like, I've never been one really for like just the aesthetics of the weapons particularly, but I have seen it many times from lots of different people. So it is nice now that people can just kind of do what they like and build guns that look decent and they all perform all right. I think it's good. I do think it's good. Like, I've sort of changed. Like, I haven't really like changed my mind, but I was reserving judgment, and I'm happily proved sort of wrong about my concern,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense, right? Like I'm happy for my concern actually ended up not really being an issue, and that I'm okay with it, and it's fine.
Yep, that's good. I do want to give a quick shout to the SA58. Namely, there's a stock on here. So, like previously, when you would use the SA58, you would really prioritize recoil, right? So you would do like the
Mhm.
typical tube adapter, and then you would slap on the ATP because that's the buffer tube that gives you the most recoil reduction, and then like the Gen 3 PSR. I mean, it would tank your ergo, but it was like whatever. I need the recoil. But there is a innate stock. Like you don't have to do all this tube and adapter stuff.
Feel like the SBR or one of those ones. Like, there's a whole
Yeah,
bunch.
it has like a ton of so like in comparison to what I have now, the tube adapter and the Gen 3, it's given me 14 extra ergo at the cost of 2 recoil, which
Mm.
is like that's got to be one of the biggest swings I've seen for like stocks. So, and I think that it's not like some hidden gem. I think a fair amount of people knew about and would use it, but I feel like now it's gonna really be super viable, more common. And
Yeah.
I've been playing around with builds. I got like this 16-inch barrel, drum mag. You could probably even do like a swap it out with like a 30 rounder and slap a scope on top to get very similar ergo performance. But yeah, it's
Mm.
I don't know. I'm excited to kind of get to that point and see how things play out.
Yeah.
The one
Yeah. No, it should be good.
the one thing I will say, my concern is I'm a bit concerned about the recoil because it is so. Well, I was about to say I need to do some testing. I'm not sure if there will be a meta around like this weird burst and then stopping, like not like
Mm.
actual 3-fire burst, but you basically pull out a gun and you stop right as it's about to hit the apex, because then you don't
Yeah.
get that random shake, and then you just like keep resetting that. And the one thing I'm worried about is that doesn't seem to be taken into account like a cooldown or like a heat meter, if you will. Like it almost
Yeah.
feels a bit binary. And my concern there is that there could be some, you know, cheating, we'll say, like macros, auto clickers,
Oh, I see.
worst case being scripting, where not only is it, you could like combine both macros and scripting to where the scripting moves your mouse down to compensate for it
Mm.
automatically for you. But anyways, point
Yeah.
being, that's something I want to like test out, and if that's a concern on the exploiting side, it needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Hopefully, just like Tarkov's general variance will prevent it. I hope, because it's not precise patterns. It does change. That the height of the different bullets does change from what I've seen so far. But I mean, it's still a legitimate concern. I mean, outside of that, it's feeling okay to me because you're kind of trading RPM for accuracy, which you can kind of do to a
Yeah,
greater or lesser extent. As people get further away, you single tap, and as they're a bit closer, you start to like burst them. We'll go like really quick bursts, and then as they get really close, you full auto. Like it feels kind of much more natural than it did to me. But yeah, we're still early days, right? It's hard to know.
yeah. Like I need to do more testing. I was playing around a little bit last night, or the other day, and it's like you're full autoing, but you're like kind of just like spamming it. It's like you're
Yeah,
lowering the RPM in a way.
yeah, like
It's
artificially or whatever. Like,
Yeah, but
I think that's kind of okay though. Yeah,
it might be. I'm just yeah, just I don't know. It just feels it's a concern of mine. But
that's a valid question, I think.
the one thing that does feel off is hip fire feels really bad now. Like they've
Mm,
changed it, and
you're right. Yeah.
it almost feels like I don't know how to describe it. It almost feels like the bullets don't go where the laser's going. They pointed. I don't know. I feel the same too with full autoing with scopes. There's a lot of like stuff I need to like kind of like suss out, because it could just be all in my head, and it,
Yeah,
it
it
could
might just be
also
because it's
be
different.
yeah, and it could also be the armor plates coming to play,
Mm.
but I don't know. Anyways, on to armor plates,
Yeah.
I suppose. Good
I guess
segue.
so, yeah, before we get too
Yeah.
sidetracked. But yeah, so armor system. where to start with the armor system. There's so much stuff going on. I mean, I still need to do more work on it. Been speaking to lots of people about it. You know, lots of testing, lots of things going on here. I've been using the Ulay a lot. Let's put it that way, because it's like the closest to the old armors as any of them. The Ulay is class 4, and it's class 4 everywhere except for the neck, which is class 2. So because it's like inbuilt soft armors, everywhere that it covers at class 4, which is easy at least. Like you know that you're not going to get like you can still get shot in the armpit or whatever.
I kind of
but
see the logic there. See, I
yeah,
have
it's
a
like
different logic.
chest and back. There's no plates, so it's not like so. The most fundamental principle of the whole thing is that the armor plate is smaller than the chest hitbox, right? So you can be shot through the class 2 at the sides, but it's class 4, 5, 6 in the middle, whereas the Ulay is class 4 right to the edge. And that's the fundamental principle about the built-in armors. So that will get less valuable as time goes on, as people use ammos that are clearing through class 4, because then it's like, well, I may as well have class 5 or 6 because it's going to go through 2 or 4. So I may as well have the chance to stop it in the center rather than just not stop it anywhere. But at least for the time being, I think the Ulay is quite good on that basis. There are downsides to that as well, which is, you're not using placeable plates. You don't get the benefits from them, i.e. 0 blunt damage if it absorbs a bullet, because that is quite a big buff. What seems to be in weird penetration mechanics with the armor plates, which I need to do a lot more about that, because that's the big question mark for me right now. Like there's lots of testing that has been done a lot by other people as well about like plate hitboxes, about armpit, about the size of these things, like different types and but like the penetration mechanics seem really weird. All I've seen so far is people posting stuff being like, I shot class 3 2 times with 300 blackout AP and it didn't go through, that kind of stuff. So it's a bit weird. I'm not really sure yet, but yeah, I mean, the one big disadvantage of having these like inbuilt plates is that it's just, that's it. It's just armor is what it is. If you get shot from the front, that's it. Whereas if you've got, say, 2 class 4 plates in a Carassa, you get shot from the front, you can swap the front plate to the back and the back plate to the front and then carry on with your day, which is kind of neat. So you don't get that advantage. But also there's like the system, I don't know, I mean, I'm just going to kind of ramble here because there's too much to talk about. It's like a huge spider web of stuff. The system is kind of like, in my opinion, is like, it's 3-tiered with some nuances. So it's like, here's the inbuilt armors. These ones you can't change. The best of these are class 4. And basically the Ulay, because the 6B3TM, the old rat rig, is terrible now because it's class 2 at the back. The whole back of the rat rig is class 2. The whole front is class 4. It's arguable as to whether that's good or whether you care about that so much.
Right.
But once you've completed the relatively early quest, the Ulay is 64k, and the rat rig is I can't even buy it apparently.
Like 80, I guess.
It's a barter. Oh no, yeah, because it's a barter for. Oh yeah, it's a quest complete for it that I haven't done. I think it's the teapot and the chainlets thing. I think it's about the same. So it's probably about the same. So like the Ulay is like, yeah, it's got class 4 everywhere, which is good. And the other one that you can buy is like 6B13, which is the other armored one, which is cheap. But like, yeah, being 64k, it's just so cheap. So you've got like the inbuilt ones, and that goes from the backer all the way to the Ulay. And then you've got the plate type armors, like the one that Church has got on screen for those who are watching on the video side. And that's the 6B13, which is, as I think about it, is like the base class 4 vest, because it's got like a Russian plate in the front and back, which is a sort of a specific thing. As in like it's not, they're replaceable, but they're like very specific plates that you can put in there. Like you can't put a Western plate in there, for example, because it's like a bespoke shape or whatever. But the issue is within the replaceable rigs, you've got, or armor vests in general, like rigs and armor vests, you've got either class 2 protection or class 3. So it's like a 2-tiered thing. Most of the armors that we used to think of, and it works relatively logically. Most of the armors that we used to think of as class 5 armors or class 6 armors have class 3 protection on the soft armor, the non-plate bit. Most of the armors that we used to think of as class 4 protection have class 2 on them as the soft armors, almost exclusively. There's a couple of exceptions. Thor, the little Thor, the one that people used to use for Punisher, the baby trooper, basically. That guy has class 3 behind it, with class 4 default over the top, but obviously you can change the plates if you want. And the other exception is the Corunt, which is class 5 plates, but class 2 behind.
Right. That one caught me off guard.
So there's a little switcheroo there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're all as you would expect. So AACPC, Osprey, Brallo, the Big Thor, the Gen 4s, the Tactec. These guys are all class 3 on the soft armor. The Banshee, the AVS, the Trooper, all of these other class 4 ones, they're all class 2 in the background. And the important part for this is that some of them have neck and some of them don't. And some of them that have neck, of the class 3 soft armors, again, some of them have neck and some of them don't. So there's actually only a small number of armors in the game that have like class 3 around the throat. How important that's going to be, I'm not sure, because the Crasso is obviously class 2 around the neck, and the Yule is class 2 around the neck. And interestingly, as I said, because of the class 2 nature of it, the Corund is class 2 around the neck, which is kind of annoying. Whereas the Gazelle is class 3 around the neck because it's of that like tier higher. Now, the armor that I think is going to be really good, and I mean, the flea market's still stabilizing because people are still coming to grips with the fact that these armors are like basically useless without the plates in them. So they're not really worth spending tons of money on. But the one that I think is going to be quite good is the Osprey.
Yeah, no,
because you can take front plates and side plates. It's class 3. It has a class 3 soft. I mean, it's got neck protection and it's got shoulders as well. And I need to do some testing with it because when you wear it, it kind of protects like the back of the arms too. And I'm not 100% sure exactly like where the hitbox goes on that thing. I from what I've spoken to people about at the moment, it doesn't seem to matter. I'd need to compare like the Osprey to something like the Gazelle and just see like what the actual hitboxes say. Because I think for the soft armor, just what it says matters. I think that is the same as the old system, except there's just more hitboxes, as I understand it. I think the only thing that is kind of funky is the plate, because the plate is its own hitbox, like over the top of the soft sections, if that kind of makes sense. So, the Gazelle, for example, has like stomach, thorax. This is like the armor areas: stomach, thorax, upper back, lower back, left side, right side, throat, and neck. Whereas the Osprey's got stomach, thorax, upper back, lower back, left side, right side, which is the same, throat, neck, and then left shoulder, right shoulder. And I don't know what left shoulder, right shoulder relates to. And at this point, I can't remember. At least I haven't done the testing. I'm not sure if left shoulder, right shoulder protects a thorax hitbox.
I see what you're saying.
That is getting shot right now, because I know some people are getting shot like above the armor plate in the thorax area, but it's a shoulder shot. But it's going into the thorax hitbox pool.
Yeah,
I think at the moment
it's I don't know.
It's complicated. So I'm not 100% sure about that. I want to test the Osprey. But like my gut instinct is that the Osprey is probably going to be like the best armor in the game.
Bravo. I feel the same.
I think, because of the low debuffs. Now, one thing that's really, really random and really interesting is that I spent an evening, a very sad, lonely evening, going through all of the armors in the handbook and writing down all of the numbers as to what their not hidden stats, what their debuffs are.
Yeah.
And then removing the plates out of because obviously I don't have a copy of any of them. So I had to go in and look at the plate debuffs and then minus that from what the debuffs say on the armor to figure out what the base debuffs are on the rig.
Okay.
Which is quite interesting. And the same for weight. And the one fascinating thing that in some cases this isn't true, but in almost all cases, the weight of the armor minus the weight of the plates was already the same in the game as it was previously.
So nothing changed. But they added.
They didn't actually change anything. But what's happened is that the plates have been added to the game and are in the armors now. And it kind of depends. As in, so like the default builds for most of the armors, the weight of them is the same now as it was before. But there's a sort of simultaneous equation going on because lots of the different armors share different kinds of plates and things. And it's like, it's a bit weird because there's certain circumstances where now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember why I came to this conclusion, but the conclusion that I came to, well, maybe I was just like sleep deprived and addled. I actually can't remember at this point. But the conclusion that I came to was that like BSG have been thinking about this for a while because a lot of the stuff just all added up, even without having the hitboxes in the game. All of the weights made sense, even though different plates could fit into different ones and stuff. But like, I mean, I guess you could. Yeah, no, that was why. Because you can't really fudge it. So say like two armors have got two class 4 plates in.
Okay.
The class 4 plates are always going to be the same weight, no matter which armor they're in, right? Mm-hmm. But the weights were. I guess they could have just like X'd out the weight of the rig. They said, oh well, here's what it is right now. So just minus the 2 plates, that's the weight of the rig. I suppose they could have done it that way. But anyway, like it was mostly consistent, is my point. It was mostly consistent. But yeah, like what goes in what is very interesting. I spent a long time looking at that because that's also quite complicated. And some things that I didn't realize quite at the beginning about what goes where in terms of, because you link search something, like the Western armors are fine because you can put stuff wherever you like, but the kind of Easterny more armors are like back and front specific.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange.
Caught
So
me
like the
off
press
guard.
vest, yeah, the press vest takes a like an Eastern plate at the front and a Western plate at the back. Kind of weird. Special mention to the press at the moment because press, as I'm pretty sure, I've not tested it, but I'm going to, and I'm probably going to put it in a video very soon. Pretty sure the press vest is bugged, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't have any armor on the front.
Yeah, I feel like that's the
I
theme
used it
of
a little
armor
bit,
right
but I
now.
think that this does well. This one is a very specific bug because when you put the plate in, like the Zhuk 3 ballistic plate, when it's in the press, the armor area disappears, and the armor areas covered on the press doesn't have front plate.
Oh,
It's like actually missing.
interesting.
And someone has tested it, and it doesn't have any armor on the front,
Yeah, sounds like a serious
even when there's a
bug.
plate inside.
Yeah.
So there's a bug there. It just needs to be updated. Literally, it just needs an armor area added to its table, as I understand it.
Okay.
So that's kind of weird. So don't use the press. I did speak about that in the video that I did because I was like, this looks weird, and I'm not sure. I don't really know. But yeah, so that's weird. And then that's why everybody was buying the Karasa, because the Karasa can take, it's the cheapest like base rig that you can buy from the fleet or from Ragman with neck protection at class 2 and takes Western plates front and back. So obviously from the link search, you can't tell which plates go in where. But once you realize that there's only a very small subset of armors that are like front back specific. And it's basically like, well, it's funny because when you look at the press armor in the Gazelle and the Zhuk 6A, which has been renamed, by the way, because that name doesn't make any sense anymore because 6A was referencing its armor class. That's now called the Zhuk Body Armor Digital because it's just the carrier. And then it's got the class 6 Granite 4RS in it. Because the Zhuk Press armor and the Zhuk Digital are basically the same vest.
Oh, okay. Huh, how about
pretty
that?
much, except the Zhuk's got the class 2
Right.
soft, and the Digital's got class 3. And then the Gazelle is also basically the same vest again. I mean, I think it even told you, honestly, I just obviously never read these descriptions, but to be fair, the Digital Flora one or the old Zhuk 6A, that was, so incredibly rare that nobody ever had it.
Yeah.
But that one says in its description, based on the Gazelle, serving as its lightweight copy. So they're actually all the same armor. So it's basically like the press, the Gazelle, the Zhuk, like the old 6A, and then the 6B13. Maybe the 6B23 as well. No, it's just the 6B13, I think. Or maybe it can take it. I can't remember. But anyway, they've got that like diamond shaped plate in the front. So that's like very specific to them. Killer armor as well is another one. There's a few that take this like diamond shaped plate.
Yeah.
And I think the 6B23 does as well.
Yep, 6B23.
The 1 and the 2.
Yep.
I think they do it. I think they do too. They actually have a weird plate at the start. They have like this weird like two-stage plate thing, but they can also take the diamondy plate, I believe. But then the back of those, the Zhuk ones take a Western style plate, whereas the 6B13s they take the custom plate, the like the 2-part square plate, which is pretty interesting. So it's quite complicated, like going back and forth between the handbook, between the plates. Like I did end up with a list of the plates. I've got like I'm not sure if I have it open, but I probably do. Probably have it open. There's a list of the class 4s, which I think are probably the most important one because they can be bought on the flea market. So you've got Global's Armor Steel Ballistic, the Kibber Arms one, Monoclete level 3 that comes in the Trooper, Newsphere Tech, Spartan Elafros, and Spartan Omega. those are the class 4 plates because they can all be purchased and sold on the flea market when they're finally made. So you can take them out of armors and sell them separately. The cheapest of those, bizarrely, is the monoclete level 3. I think it's because you find it in armors more often, maybe like in the trooper and whatnot. Like you find them in there. They're only like 29k on the fleet, which I think is pretty cheap because, in my opinion, they're the best because they're the lightest. They're only 1.3 kilos, and they are UHMWPE, the polymer material. So they've also got good durability.
Yeah.
Not that anyone really cares about the durability on the plates, it seems, because plates lose durability really slowly. They don't pass through any blunt damage, doesn't matter. They've got weird pen mechanics, which, as I said, I just don't really know how that works yet. But monoclete level 3 seem to be really good. Once you get up to like Peacekeeper 3, you can buy the 2 other ones. There's the one that's called the New Sphere Tech, which are only 2 kilos, and that's $166 from Peacekeeper. And there's the Spartan Elafros, which is 1.6 kilos for $174 from Peacekeeper. So that's actually technically even cheaper. So they're not too bad. And then Skier 3 gives you the Spartan Omega, but that thing is like a hefty beast. It's like 4 kilos. So having 2 of those in is going to add like 8 kilograms to your PFC. So I'd like avoid using those if you can. But it's quite interesting. The other interesting thing about plates and like the flea market is that you can buy the class 5 side plates.
Yeah.
And I think 6 as well.
Oh, okay.
Off the flea. But they're obviously quite expensive.
Sure.
So yeah, SAPI level 3 plus is a class 5 plate. You can buy those on Peacekeeper. I mean, side is like, is it useful? I don't know. It protects like part of your stomach and maybe a bit of your thorax, but it's like, it's such a small piece. But it only costs like 10k on Peacekeeper once you're at Peacekeeper 3. So you're just like, well, I may as well, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying it in the door. I haven't.
And then you've got like SB level 5, which is a class 6 armor. Because these are using like the Western armor rating system, which is called NIJ,
yeah,
I believe.
Yeah.
And so the SB level 5 ballistic plate ceramic is an armor class 6 in Tarkov. That's Peacekeeper 4, and that's like $160. So that's more like 20k. They'll be worth putting in. And then you've got the granite side plate, which is a class 6 ceramic. That one's on Ragman 4. They're 50k on the fleet, but only 16k from Ragman. So like, you know, you'll be able to buy these later, and it won't be too bad. Like, I don't think kitting out one of these things is necessarily like terrible. So anyway, there's loads of like random interesting stuff about it, about what fits in what's good, what's not. But I genuinely think that the Osprey is going to be amazing because of its like soft armor and the fact that it can take both front and side plates. That seems to be pretty good. You can't protect against armpit. It's not a hit zone that is protectable, which is painful. So if you anyone who's seen like the stuff Airing's been doing, your PMC when they stand with the gun, they lean their left arm forwards. There was a sort of a discussion about like whether their posture is correct or not, because PMC's posture now matters, and you lean too far forwards and it exposes the side of your rib cage or whatever, and you can get shot in the armpit. And also because BSG decreased the size of the arm hitbox because people complaining about arms tanking too many bullets, now you can shoot directly through the arm model, not hit the hitbox, because the hitbox is smaller than the model, and you can hit the armpit behind and 2-tap people in the thorax through somebody's left arm, because you just don't even like it. The bullet travels through the model, but the hitbox is smaller and is I don't know, like a cylinder, I suppose, and it's smaller than the fabric of the clothing on the PMC's model. So you can look like you're shooting the arm, you're actually shooting their chest, and because of the way they're turned, it shoots them in a piece that's unprotected because it's like in line with their left arm. So that's kind of where the left arm problem comes in. I mean, you've got the neck thing as well. So the amount of area that you've got where you just die is obviously bigger.
Yeah.
It was face. They've added some, like the head hitbox has changed a little bit. It's now got like a face hitbox, but I think that might be like different ones cover like different things. You've got some that still say the old stuff, which is like eyes, jaws. I don't know whether face is like both together. I think it might be. I'm not 100% sure yet on exactly what that means, but obviously you've got throat now. Well, you've got the neck armor hit zone, which is like, well, it's not an armor hit zone. You've got the neck protection, which comes on most armors, which dictates like that the armor has neck protection in some form. But then when you go on the armor areas, the hitboxes for that is throat, which is the front part, and neck, which is the back part.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's now bigger, obviously, to get like a one tap if someone's not wearing any armor there, and it's quite hard to protect the neck. You know, it's plus 2 or 3 depending on the armor.
So does the neck armor on like a 6p13 protect the throat?
It does,
Okay.
yeah, and it protects that area.
But
so
just
and
the
even like
wordage
so the Osprey,
is a
for
little
example,
confusing.
yeah. So the Osprey, for example, because I've got it up, it's got it's got class 3 armor points of 8 on the neck.
Oh, it says throat.
And then when you when you hover over the armor areas, it's got throat and neck. The throat being the front bit, and the neck being the back bit.
Okay, yeah.
So like that's like the hitbox thing,
right?
Whereas the other part is the armor thing. It's like it depends on like which side you're coming from. Confusing. I'm still yet to determine if you can shoot somebody. Like I don't think you can. I think, as I said, I think it's the old system, so that if it says it covers throat, I don't think you can ever like die to a throat shot without the armor being in the way, even if the model looks like it. Right? I don't think it's like precisely true to the models, but like the hitboxes are just a lot more detailed than they were. So for all intents and purposes, like it's good enough, I think. For the most part, anyway.
What's good enough?
So, like
the system as a whole.
Yeah, that system in general, like for what they want to do. Like I don't think it needs to be, you know, each hitbox modeled off the armor precisely.
Oh
the
yeah,
fact that
yeah.
all neck armors protect the neck on
it's
every.
Just kind of like a general,
It's like good enough, right? Like you can't like the guy can look down and then look up at 45 degrees, and then you can like slice it in between the bottom of their chin and the armor and still hit the throat. Like I don't. Yeah. It doesn't have to be that detailed. Like I don't. It's not. It's not that important. So yeah. So there's that, and then what was I saying? I kind of lost my train of thought now. There's just like so much to it. But yeah, so you've got So you've now got like the armpit thing, which you can die to.
Mm-hmm.
I believe. Well, maybe this is true or not. Like armpit doesn't really matter, I don't think, because you can get shot through the side and be shot in the chest,
in
an unarmed place and die anyway. So I feel like armpit, like it's its own like death screen PMC hit area.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter. It would almost be better if it didn't tell you. I think people hate seeing like armpit and going like, this sucks.
I mean,
whereas if it just said like chest, you would not know. And then you'd feel better about life and go, oh, I guess it penned the soft armor. But like at least that way you know that there isn't any soft armor on armpit. Or at least I don't think so.
I mean, are we 100% sure you can get shot in the side, in the chest, and it doesn't touch any of the armor?
I'm pretty sure, yes.
Okay.
There was a graphic that Airwing produced, which is like showed the armpit hitbox, and then there was the area around it, which was just like the chest hitbox.
Oh, okay.
Or one of the other ones, anyway. The PMC armor area is annoying because, or not armor areas, the PMC hit zone areas are irritating because you only find out like where it was on the death screen.
Yeah, like I haven't been pitted yet.
It's annoying to test. Yeah, no, I've been arm pitted actually.
But I've been
throated a bit, but
yeah, I've been I've been throated once.
Throated, head throat.
And I've mostly been dying to chest, and I think that's because,
soft armor.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It's one of the things where like it doesn't like actually. Well, hearing you talk about using the Ulay and your reason behind it, I went a different route, which was my reasoning was I want to be invulnerable when it hits the plates. But the problem with that is the trade-off is now I have soft armor on the sides, which I'm basically, widening the spectrum of possibilities. On one hand, I'm a god. On the other hand, skill issue, whereas you've kind of went with the more consistent, reliable approach. And I want to switch because the other thing that compounded that too is because the ammo pin has been lowered availability wise across the board.
Yeah.
So like in a lot of ways, the Ulay's kind of goated in that aspect.
Yeah, like it'll protect you against M855 against.
Yeah.
Now that PP's been nerfed, because PP used to be 36 pen, right? So it would deal with it handily. Now it's 34 pen, which is in that important bit. So that's worse. SRST is 33 pen. PS for 545 is 31 pen. Like, yeah, you're still going to get. I mean, even like 762 PS, to be fair, is 35 pen, I believe. Yes. So, it's going to get through some of the time, but it's certainly going through class 2, whereas it's not necessarily getting through class 4 on the first hit anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting one. I think like once you've got class 5 access, I think that changes the maths a little bit, just because you're like, well, I'm giving up class 5 front back now for class 4 everywhere. Like, is that worth it? Would I rather have 2-5 or 3-5 rather than 4 uniform? It depends on the average ammo of the player base, honestly. That's the more important factor to drive it. Like once people are Peacekeeper 4 and 5.6A1 is all over the place, and people are able to buy 45 AP and those kind of ammos, which will go through the class 4. It's like, maybe now it's time to switch over to the 3.5 or the 2.5 or whatever you want to do. For the time being, I think the Yule is still all right, but yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's based on the enemy's ammo, likely ammo. I think.
Yeah.
Plus also reminding yourself about scavs and buckshot in the throat. This is where it always all comes back. It's like there are other ways around it though. You can do something like there's like the weird helmets. I did one which was how did I do it? LSHZ light helmet plus ears. It ended up being like 90k, so it wasn't worth it. But I just did it for kind of jokes. Plus ears, plus like mandible.
Yeah, the stormtrooper mandible thing.
Well, not even the stormtrooper one. You know, just the jaw
one, yes,
mandible. That one, yeah, the
yes.
white one, which no one has ever used before because it's class 2, but it's class 2 and it covers the throat.
Right.
So I paired that with a Thor, class 4 plates and a class 3 soft armor.
Yeah.
So I was
That's
like, well, the big
interesting.
downside of the Thor is that there's no throat.
Right.
But if you can replace the throat with the mandible or something, or whatever else, there's another one. I think there's it's got like a shark mouth painted on it or something.
Yep.
Is it part of the Neo something helmet? Can't remember. It's that one anyway. And I think that's class 3 over the throat. And you can layer these things. So if you actually have a throat armor, a neck armor,
you could layer it.
You can actually have multi-layered things. So it's still not going to help you against something that's got 50 pen, but you know, maybe if you've got, I don't know, a 45 pen bullet coming through, it'll take some damage reduction from the first layer, maybe from the class 3, and then maybe if you've got another class 3 behind it, then it might take some more damage reduction, and then the class 2 finally catches it because the pen's been reduced enough. I don't know. You've got an interesting one on screen.
Yeah, this one's weird. I didn't know about it until I think I saw Wilders using it, and it's like, what? This is a class 4 face mask. I mean, you can't wear a helmet with it, but you get face, jaws, eyes, top, head coverage. It's a class 4.
I think it's crazy.
I think that's kind of nutty too.
It's like a baby Tagilla helmet kind of thing.
Oh my god, they're going 300,000.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Class 4 across the whole face is like nutty.
Yeah, I think so too.
And you can wear a headset presumably with it, I think.
Yeah, you can. What is this, Ragnan?
I don't know.
It's a quest log. I'm gonna Google it after this. I'm gonna prioritize that quest.
But I think that thing is insane.
Yeah,
like class 4 over the whole face is just bonkers.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, I think the systems overall is interesting. Like I feel like there's a lot of detail in it and a lot of things to explore. I think the frustrating part for me right now is just like this uncertainty on how it works and like, is it a bug, is it a feature? And I haven't really had any like I would say there's just a lot of factors going, because I've had like experiences where like I've shot a crap ton of bullets. Like I have one where I have 71 bullets shot and like 53 hit count, or like maybe it was 75 bullets and 51 hit count. And I managed to kill one guy, but I just like, I don't know if that's like the recoil, because like I feel like there's some weird stuff going on with the scopes, and when you full auto, it just doesn't go where it's aiming. Because I was using the AUG, right, and it's like,
yeah,
I was using a 3x, the 3x12, and so I was on the 3x mode, and I had to only been like 25 meters away. I mean, I could pull up the clip, but yeah, it's just like, dude, this guy was eating, and I was just like, I don't like, am I hitting his plate? Like, because after the experience, I was like, okay, I just need to like go for the reliable thing that's always been reliable, and that's head eyes, right? Like, you just,
yeah.
In some ways, the throat kind of like expanded the hitbox, but
basically, yeah.
Anyways, I would just and then I got to think too. It's like, okay, well, I was using M855, so if like they had class 3, the arm's gonna do something, more than likely, maybe they had class 4, and that would have been. Yeah. I don't know what they had, It's just like there's like so many things going on. I just like to have that one aspect more certain that the armor is a bug, feature, plate, because that's the thing, is like, if M61 is like gonna tank the plates, then like I feel like I really want M61, but in reality, who's gonna have M61? Like, sure, they're gonna have like a couple rounds of it, but like, that's probably like
we don't even know how to get it at the minute.
Yeah, it's probably like 1 out of 20. Like, they probably like found it in raid or something, right? Like it was in a mag or something. 1 in 20 players found it, and now they got, like, I think I actually had one round at M985. I just loaded it in the chamber of something. I was like, hey, let me just get rid of this, right? Or no, it was M993. That's what I meant. Yeah, I just put it in the
Or
chat.
like one bullet of M903.
Yeah, it was in a mag or something. But anyways.
Yeah, I've got where is it? I've got 2 bullets of 338 Lapua Magnum AP.
Whoa. Watch out.
2.
Watch out.
But I have nothing to put them in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, yeah, how am I going to get the AXMC or the Mark 18 Mjolnir?
I should probably just sell
No
this
chance.
APSX. I have 26 rounds. I don't think I'm ever going to use it.
Stick it in OP7?
Yeah, but I mean, headshot damage, man. It's just hard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Although, actually, there was a weird thing which needs a bit more investigation. Another one was people trying to bust up the armors for So It Good Quest, which, you know, is not really working right now because you have to get all the inbuilt sections under 50%. And you know, people who were like wanted to push up to Kappa and like do the late quests like had to get through this thing, and people were obviously having to help them. And I was being asked a bit about like what ammos I would suggest, and I was like, well, if you want to try and get the neck hitbox, then you want to use APSX because you won't ever die because it's like precisely 35 damage. And interestingly, it's been killing people.
Classic.
And none of us know why.
I've had some weird instances too where I've been shot at, like a scav shot me and he hit my head, but I didn't get like the sound that he hit my helmet, but I had the concussion effect, like the double vision. I didn't get like the jerk, and he only did like 17 damage to me. And I'm like, what happened? Like my helmet's perfect. Like, he hit my head, but like if he hit my head with a shotgun round, it should have done way more damage. So did he hit my throat? Which maybe he did. I wasn't really thinking that logic at the time, so I never checked. But it's just like I don't know. There's so much mystery in this new system. I don't like it. It's so uncertain, Giga.
I know. Chat was saying like maybe it fragments, and that was actually my question as well.
Oh yeah, that's another
maybe
thing.
It fragments on the head, but it's only like 10%, and it happened like 2 or 3 times. Maybe they were unlucky doing the testing. I wasn't there to see it, but yeah, they were like, yeah, we were a couple of meters away. Like when I tested it previously, it would deal 34.2 damage or something because we were testing ricochet off of glasses, and we never died. APSX, not ever.
Yeah.
And you could shoot somebody. You can literally shoot somebody in the head with it, and they won't die. But maybe VSJ changed something. I don't know. I feel like some stuff has changed that we can't see. I wonder if they've changed some stuff behind the scenes that, like, the ammo charts have been updated, but it's like if people are dying to a neck shot, maybe something's been like fiddled with, because I still don't see how it's possible for them to die unless there was as we said, right, unless there was a fragment. But I just don't really know. It's still 35 damage on the chart, so it shouldn't be killing people in the neck. Unless maybe it hits you twice. Who knows? Maybe it goes to the neck hitbox and then hits you in the head hitbox again. And the thing about that is that it doesn't matter normally because you die in one shot. Whereas if you get hit with APSX, is a very specific case where you would expect not to die, but it does kill you because it goes through both hitboxes and they both go to the head and it kills you. That could well be the case, honestly. Which would be okay actually as a game balance thing. That's probably fine because I've always wanted people to die in one shot to the head if they get penned, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's fair.
I've always thought that was a good thing. So that actually kind of fixes that problem. It's annoying for testing because there are no bullets really that you can do with. There are some because you could use some like crappy bullets that'll get damage reduced enough in theory, but yeah, it's complicated. But yeah, right now things seem really weird. Pen is a bit strange. I'm suspicious of armor plates and the way that they don't seem to calculate in the normal way. And they absorb more damage than they seem to for the class they are. And no one knows whether that's a bug or not. And like it's like I was saying, T45 against class 3 plates, people taking like 5 hits, and it's just like weird stuff. Weird stuff. So it needs a bit more testing.
Yeah. Overall, though, it's been a pretty good wipe. Still plenty of things. It's Tarkov, still plenty of frustrating things. But I can foresee myself probably hitting max traders.
Hey.
Maybe some extra quests to unlock some other cool, progression stuff.
Makes a big difference if you got friends playing there, right?
Yeah, it definitely ups a bit. Yeah, there was a couple times where I didn't really. I mean that I logged on to do the grind, and that just like killed my desire to play when I grinded. Vitality, it's just
Mm.
like
Oh
yeah,
yeah, that kind of stuff is just like
yeah,
doesn't make you feel good about life.
yeah. But no,
What am I doing?
Streets is really cool. I haven't messed with the BTR because of all the horror stories I've heard. I just like actually funny enough, before the really horror stories came out, one of my buddies, he was like, I'm gonna go up to it and see what happens. And he got shot at by it. And yeah, that was a frustrating experience. We were like, oh, guess we're
Yeah,
never going near that thing again.
absolute classic. Yeah, they need to sort that out because it's super fun, but yeah, it needs to not just like murderize everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and that was the thing. It was confusing because like we anticipated a PMC coming out to loot him, but that didn't seem to happen. Like, and then we thought maybe he's just like, because we don't know how it works, so maybe he's just sitting in there gonna ride the whole ride to his destination. I just
Mm.
no idea. But apparently, yeah. Hopefully that gets sorted out because it's a bit unfortunate that kind of the norm. Everyone's idea is just to avoid it because it may kill you and likely will.
The murderous overlord that is the BTR.
Yeah.
It's like, today you are the target.
Yeah, that was the one. It's like that was the one comment he had. It was like it needs to like tell you that it's not friendly. Like maybe there's the Russian driver yelling "Suka bliat" in like a megaphone.
Yeah, shouting or whatever with a megaphone. Yeah,
Right.
that'd be great actually. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that would be good.
Almost like, there's kind of like, I don't know, election things you see in films with a big megaphone, but just like shouting, just Russian profanity.
Mm-hmm.
Or even like a headlamp or something searching or
Yeah,
whatever.
that'd
Like
be cool.
mode.
Yeah.
That'd be like kind of immersive as well, especially at nighttime. Can you imagine you see this VTR searching, you're just like,
Oh, dude, that'd be so cool. Actually, wow.
so scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tarkov's not a horror game at all, I swear. Got armored, mechanical, invulnerable machine hunting you down in the darkness.
Yeah, it's cool. We did Streets has been really fun. Shoreline's been pretty great, honestly. There's the vaulting exploit. Have you heard about this? In
Or just
short,
through the doors.
in resort, yeah, you can like go onto any of the balconies of Shoreline and just vault through like the wooden gap that connects the window to the glass doors that makes up the balcony.
I saw someone. I've not actually really been in resort that much, but
Mm-hmm.
I saw somebody doing it. I was like, oh, this is kind of lame. But
Yeah, it's also hilariously fun. I I did it as a scav, and there was just a bunch of scavs also just vaulting through. It's so funny because
oh,
in East second floor, there or no, that's right, East third floor. There's like a section where there's essentially like on one end there's an unlocked room, on the other end there's a locked room. Maybe it's second floor, I can't remember. But anyways, so what you can actually vault through the open door to get all, and you have to vault through like 7 empty rooms. Like they're just like there's nothing in there. They're just like the floor, the bathroom, no toiletries, no bed. It's just like the stock asset they use to build the room. So you have to vault through like 7 of those to get down to the locked room. But it's just so comical and funny. Yeah, I love it. I think it's hilarious. But stuff like this is bound to happen, right?
Exactly. And in fairness, it's actually there's probably less than we expected.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
It's probably because vaulting just like it doesn't. It's quite restrained. Like it doesn't work in more places than you would. You'd want it to work in more places than it does.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's probably to kind of counter this sort of thing, I suppose. It's not just people going all over the place, but yeah, I mean, it was bound to happen. But for the most part, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
All right, I think that's gonna conclude it for this extra long cast. Unless you got anything else, Giga.
No, all good. All good. We're going to go from this into some Tarkov. I'm going to go play.
Nice.
Do my strem stuff. I'm actually probably have to go and like grab something to eat from the kitchen first, but I'll go and get on with some. I'm going to play setup today.
Oh man, yeah, I've been putting that off. It's
going to be fun.
Yeah. Best of luck to you, good sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah.
Thanks for tuning in as always, and we'll see you all next week.
Catch you later.